Hello! How are we all doing? New year. Oh, we've got loads in the chat. Let me try and catch up. Oh, Carol was in first. Let me have a look. I need to zoom in. Can't see this.
I nearly had a disaster.
Oh, only nearly?
Yeah, my volume key got stuck.
Oh, dear.
In the maximum position.
That would have been an issue. Mind you, should we share what your speaker sounds like?
No, because I fixed it.
Oh, good.
I wiggled the cable.
Then. Ah!
Wiggy, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Wiggy, wiggy.
Wiggy, wiggy.
Right, so hello to Carol, hello to Debbie, hello to Renee. Oh, who else have we got? Jonathan! Jonathan's changed. I've not, that did not get by me, Jonathan. I've seen it. And Renee's in as a frog. Is that a frog? It looks like a frog.
Renee's always been in as a frog.
Has he?
Yeah.
Well, how have I never noticed this? Must be the new glasses. Hello, Kim. Rain-soaked Seattle. Our weather has been insane this week. We have had everything from a bikini on the beach to hail and snow. It's typical UK weather, to be honest. Who else? Oh, Simon's in. Simon's in as Simon. Wow. Oh, and he's had pizza.
There's a blast from the past.
What?
T. Andrew Caddick.
Oh, yes.
Only comes and says something when his team beats United. Bit like, what's his face?
Oh,
Carl.
That'll get us a lot of viewers now then, because everybody's beating United. Right, I hope I've not missed anybody. Hello, Graham. Happy New Year to you, Graham. And John's in. Hello. And Paul's with us. Hello, Paul. Have I got everybody? Deb, we have another Deb. Excellent. Can never have too many Debs. I think I'm up to date, but it's jumping all over the place, so fingers crossed. Right, excellent. Oh, via Wolverhampton, I see. Do you know, it's not often Wolves beat us, is it?
They haven't beaten us for, I don't know, many, many years.
So they started this year. Don't. He's been grumpy. Leave it. No.
Yeah.
No, move on, because he's been grumpy. We don't like him grumpy, do we? Right, what have we been up to and what have we got this week? Let's see if it's all going according to plan. Oh, next time will be the first, won't it? Right, fingers crossed. Oh, that looks good. As long as what I've left on here is what's actually happening, we're getting somewhere. If you want to listen and lurk, that's fantastic. Not a problem. Right, we have got the week at MacBites headquarters. Bizarre week. Actually, I've just remembered I left myself a note and then totally ignored it. But never mind, I'll make the sound effects because I've not wired the sound up. Then we've got creating professional iOS screen captures. Yeah, we've sort of looked at this, but we sort of totally ignored 80% of it. So in answer to a question, we're going back and revisiting it. Then we have Adobe Creative Cloud Express. It's free. I was surprised as well. Mike's doing the let function. I thought I'd let him do that. See what I did there, Mike?
Yes, I saw what you did there.
Probably saw it a mile off. And then we're going to start how to effectively present data using many different techniques and many different apps if you like. Whatever you like, let me know. So we're broadcasting at 1080p. Make sure that YouTube has not stymied you with something stupid like 360, like it does me.
I'm watching in 1080p.
All the time. I can't really start. Hang on a minute. Yes, while you're down there, there's a like button. That would be grand. I can't really start without mentioning last Friday, can I? For two reasons. So we're going back to last year, last Friday. Just to remind you, there were 6 shows that Friday. We're living off that till June, aren't we?
We are.
Oh, don't tell Johnny that. Be upset. I also wanted to give you a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes. So while I'm literally a one-man band, while I'm presenting and producing and switching views and all the rest of it, in the middle of the live show, I've said to you before it does this, but there you go. And you can even see the time and date in the top left because that's where I have it in Vivaldi. So to say I was grumpy, understatement. I mean, seriously, come on. I was in the middle of a live show. Why would you have me log out and log back in the middle of a live show? But they do it virtually every week, so we'll see what happens this week. So if you're ever wondering why bad words are said, now you know. Now you know. But Saturday, we did let the new year in, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, if it could have gone without incident, that would have been better. But I did manage just to capture something that I wanted to share with you. So that's me in the extension just after midnight. And you can actually hear, well, I can hear that, but you can't hear that. But yeah, there was lots of bangs and whatever. It was a grand show and it didn't cost us a penny. So thank you very much to the neighbours who put on this spectacular show. I don't even know where that is coming from, because usually it's behind the pub, which is in the totally opposite direction. But yeah, that was our start to the new year. Then Mike got grumpy. As he decided he was putting in the Tesco order, he was not impressed as he attempted the weekly shop. Basically, it was that, but online. So the missing in action Yule log was the least of his problems. They were out of stock of literally everything.
Kimmy's just asked that.
So he headed off to Asda. Oh, Asda were great. Asda promised all sorts. It was wonderful. They promised abundance. Reality? Yeah, when the van rolled up, nothing on it. So it's a good job we had some stuff in, really, isn't it? Or we would have starved. That was not good. No, I don't know what's happening to them, because they were saying it would be bad before Christmas, it'd be fine after. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Which took us to Sunday. Mike wasn't the only grumpy one in their house. Oh, she's peeved, isn't she? The poor lamb, I don't think she's been for a walk where it hasn't rained for like 2 months. So she came back, she was dried, and then insisted that she be wrapped up in a blanket. She wasn't even mollified with her Christmas present, which was a rubber cracker. She was still grumpy with her rubber cracker. Poor Lola. Dear girl. So that was when it was on to Monday, which was when there was that match that we won't talk about. Do you know, they hung out so long, didn't they? And I always say to Mike, they only play the last 5 minutes. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no. So we're not mentioning that. We're not mentioning that at all. Which took us on to Tuesday. And Tuesday would normally have been back to work, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yes, but we decided we just couldn't do it because both of us get very grumpy if we have to go back to work too soon after Christmas. But I decided I was going to tackle the old inbox. Got it down to inbox 0. Haven't done bad since then either, but you know how I've done it? I've got this other folder that I don't look at and I just put the mail in there. I did it. It said inbox 0. It might be the only time in the year, but it said inbox 0. So I thought, right, I need to do some real work on Wednesday. I thought, I'll just install that drive, I said. Oh, no. It was like 12 hours of shuffling. Remind me, Mike, make a note, to take a picture of the drawer with the hard drives in, because I ended up going through them all. You'll remember I did an unboxing, an inadvertent unboxing. It was like, what's in this box? I've no idea. And it was from last December, not 2021, 2020. And when I opened it, there were 2 hard drives in it. Well, sorting ourselves out with the Christmas tree, found another one of those, another 2 hard drives in it. So I had to sort all of those out as well. That was the whole day. The whole day. Because I had hubs that got grumpy and all kinds of things. Thursday, I thought, right, you need to do some real work. And then I remembered, I really did need to do some real work. I had to do all the business finances on Thursday. Why? This is not rhetorical, Mike. Give me an answer. Why do I leave it till the death and then the darn thing takes me 3 hours?
Everyone does.
Oh!
My mother said that the other day. She said, I've got the income tax to do, but I'll deal with it at the end of the month.
You know, I would do that myself. The only thing that puts me off is I can guarantee that the Inland Revenue Service will fall over. So I am going to have to tackle that the 3rd week in January. But yes, I had all the business finances to do, which took us through to today. So I thought, right, you know, towards the end of the holiday, not the end of mine, I give myself another week. I need to let myself in gently. And I thought, the weather must be getting better for Lola and her walks. No. That, believe it or not, is not actually snow. It was a hailstorm and it stuck. like that. The roads are treacherous. You'll also notice there, if you look over to the skip, that was Bill and Ben, the skip, if you remember. It's been there for years now. You'll notice that there's kind of, it looks like Ghostbusters, doesn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that is. So if anybody's got any ideas, let me know. I don't know what that is. As you can see, the extension's going well. Oh, gosh, they make so much noise. Anyway, that was my week. Let me know about your week. Oh, Kim loves that slide. Which slide was that, Kim? Let me know. Which slide was that? What a week. What a week. But, it'd be a blessing to get back to work, won't it? Where things are predictable. I predict new toys. This is not available yet, but you might want to sign up for the beta. It's a new app entirely from Howder Software, and it's called Photos Workbench. The idea is it integrates with the Photos app, the Apple Photos app in the library, and you can then edit photos with it. That's about as far as I've got with it. It does say down here what it can do. It makes sense that it can add the GPS locations because they've got another app for that, but they're also batch renaming and all kinds of stuff. So as I say, it's not available yet, but didn't I put the link in for that, Mike?
I'm sure I did. Look now.
I'm sure I did. So if you would like to sign up and get notifications in real time about it, obviously I will have a look at it when it arrives. But until then, let's just keep our eye out for the beta.
Renault says reflection of a lamp in the window.
No, I do not have a green lamp.
And Kim liked the envelope slide.
Yeah, just not the email bit. Oh, not good. Right, Picsew. There was a PDF update, and I was going to talk about it, and that was just going to be it. That was it. And then I got this question. Is there a version of Snagit for iOS? And I thought, that's a very good question, and the answer's no. There are a couple of helper apps that you can get for Snagit and Camtasia. So if you were using your phone to record some video, you can, from either end, use this app to transfer it into Camtasia. But other than that, no, not really. Which was when I went back and had, hang on a minute, wrong way, another look at Picsew. So we've looked at this before just in relation to the fact that it can stitch images together. And that was it. But it can actually do a whole lot more than that, which could make it Snagit for iOS, if you think about it. So I thought I'd show you all of that. So I need, no I don't, I need to show you first. There was 2 updates. There was export as slides, PDF. Why would it matter if you've taken a screenshot and you export it as a standard PNG or a PDF? And the answer is, if you want to scale it, the PDF is vector based. So that was a nice feature. Also, slices. Why slices? Well, the different pieces can be formatted in different ways and then used in terms of an assembly at the other end. I think the slices aren't going to matter to most people, but the PDF might. But what we're going to look at is the whole shebang. So let's go and have a look at that. Now, for this to work, we need definite incantations, which is usually very bad news. So I'm going to try and incant this. So if we can all send positive thoughts, with a bit of luck, it should flash up and say screen mirroring. Oh, good grief. It's a miracle. Right, let's take that full screen. There we go. So we've looked at Picsew before, but what I need to do first is to get some content for it. So I'm going to go into here where I've got my website. And I don't know how many of you do this, but I've been doing this for years. When I take a screenshot, I want the whole page. So I take the first screenshot and then I scroll and then I take the second and so forth. Obviously, I can piece this together in any application that supports multiple layers in an image. But it would be so much easier if the thing did it itself. That would be great. So I've got all of my screenshots now. I've actually done this before, so now I've got double of them. But you can see it says 2115 on the screen. So scoot up there Now, notice that I was in Firefox, so there are better ways to do this, more integrated ways in Safari, but let's do it the manual way. So I'm going to go into Picsew. Gone into it, not told it to do anything. It has done this itself. So it has glued together all of those individual screenshots into one scrolling shot. And 9 times out of 10, that's what I want. And all I do from there is tap at the top and send it somewhere. So preview it or save it to the images, the photos, or just as a file, and I'm done. But as soon as I tapped that, something else happened that you could be forgiven for totally missing. And that is, we were initially in crop mode and we had 4 options along the bottom. Have you seen that comment from Simon?
I have.
That was my problem, Simon. So you've saved your bacon there. Right. So I was in crop view with these 4 tools at the bottom. And the 4 tools at the bottom, 2 of them are to do with showing me where the joins are. I can crop it and I can do a 1-to-1 crop there too. But as soon as I tapped share, something happened and that image actually changed, but you may not have noticed. So let's just scroll down it and have a look. If you look on the right hand edge of that image, there is a line just next to the sign up for the newsletter. If I go down, there's another line and another line right at the edge. And each part of the image that I captured separately has got that line on it. What that line is the scroll bar. So you can see it's got kind of movement on it and it's captured it as it was moving. So as soon as I tap to share it, it flicks over to the tools. So if we look at the top of the screen, we've got crop and we've got tools. And if you think, well, I just want the screenshot and I just want to send it somewhere, I don't need to go in and play with any tools. But if you go into the tools, one of them is already applied automatically. So if we scroll it in here, same image, but those scroll bars have gone at the side. And that is because automatically down at the bottom, all of the buttons at the bottom have now changed. So we now have copyright and device, and we have one that's pushed in that looks like a magic wand. And that's exactly what it is. What it's done is it's tidied it up and it knows about the scroll bar situation. So it's automatically taken it away. But if you tap that, instead of just toggling it off, you're not. So we'll tap that magic wand button and you'll see it says there's 2 options: clean the status bar and remove the scroll bar. So if we toggle off the scroll bar option, the scroll bars come back. So they are still there. This is just a way to hide them, which is nice. It's a nice touch. It means instead of just having this and then I've got to take it into somewhere where I can manually edit that, it will do it for you. But in terms of what other applications can do specific to screenshots, the next one's fabulous. I thought to myself, what on earth does clean status bar do? I can understand removing the scroll bar, but what do you want to clean the status bar? What does that mean? So if you look at the top of the image, can we zoom in a bit? All right, so you can see right at the top of that image where we've got 21:15, Friday the 7th of January, and all of the detritus at the other end. If we use that slider at the bottom, the clean status bar, and toggle that on, it tidies it up. Interestingly, 12th of September, I guess that could be an Apple event, but the mythical 941. So the benefit of that is, if you're taking these screen caps, maybe you're putting together a tutorial, I have to do that manually. And most of the time, I just nuke it. I don't bother tidying it up and putting a time on it. I just make it black. But this would give you the opportunity to have all of the screen caps you've taken where you can see the time and date, saying the same time and date. Which means there's none of this, I'll have to change that because I took this one before that one and now it would be out of sequence. So actually, that clean status bar is really, really good. So I think I might leave that on. I guess it depends what I was using it for. So let's just toggle it off again. You can see I've got my do not disturb and I've got the fact that I'm screen mirroring and that disappears and the time and date change. So I just think that's a really, really nice touch. We'll leave that on. Right, other options that you have in here. So we're still working with the same screen cap that's been glued together absolutely perfectly, I might add. Right, and this time I'm going to start at the left-hand edge. So the first option is a copyright. And you tap it and it doesn't look like anything's happened. But that's because as you tap the C, if you look just above that, you will find, let's see if we can do that so we can see it. This bit here then starts showing. So tapping the C shows the next level of menu. And the first one is to turn off the watermark. So there's no watermark on it at the moment. The second one turns the watermark on just at the bottom. The third one puts the watermark across the screen. But what is the watermark? Well, that's where the fourth one comes along. The fifth one comes along, which is this one. Oh, let me tap that. Oh, it's not letting me do that. Let's turn it on and then tap that. That is the watermark. So you can put in here whatever you want. So if I want to put 2022 on it, or I could even go to an image and then go and pick an image. So if I have a watermark already, I can do that. As I tap done, that comes through at the bottom. And I think on an image like that, I guess putting your website on it is probably the best thing you can do if you're going to put it down the bottom. But in addition to the actual text, the button on the right-hand side lets you choose a colour. So we could go for white, because that is actually sat over black. You could go for black, which doesn't work well in that. You've got blue and green and all kinds of colours in here. And you can even swipe for more colours. So there's a whole range of colours there for you to work with. I guess the green's as good as any. Then you've got the size of it. So if you want the text bigger. So for this one, you might choose to have it smaller and then it's sitting in the bottom there. Or much bigger and then it's pretty much only touching the bottom. You can also in there decide on the transparency level. So very faint or in your face. So probably about 50% is probably about right with that. There we go. Now, that was putting it at the bottom, this one here. But there's also this option that puts it across the whole thing. So if it was something like an image maybe, and you just wanted people to know it was yours, then that is an option that you've got there as well. Which I think is really powerful. The fact that all of this is happening on your iPad is particularly useful. So we've got a watermark on it there. This is not going to look pretty, is it? I'm going to turn the watermark off. I'm about to head into the next button. So the one to the right of the copyright button, which is the device frame. So I go into the device frame and again, nothing to see. I don't think it's obvious that this is going to do much at all, to be honest. But if we move this down, that's our entire capture. So it's a scrolling capture there. What this will enable us to do is wrap a frame around that image before we post it somewhere. So if I tap the grey button, it puts it in a space grey 12.9 inch iPad. How do I know that? Well, the button over on the right, we've got a colour button, but the one to the left of that, which is the square with a dot in it, that's the device option. And it's saying an iPad Pro 12.9 inch 3rd gen. Actually, this is an M1 iPad, but whatever, it's got the size right. But you might not want to display it on that. You might want to display that on something else, so maybe an iPhone. So if I go for the iPhone 11 Pro, there is a rather large iPhone 11. But what you've done is you've given the screen cap context by putting it in some kind of frame. To be honest, if you're going to use a frame, I wouldn't use it with a scrolling capture, because although it works, as you can see there, it does look rather alarming. Maybe it's that big iPad I've been looking for. You know, the 17-inch iPad? Mm. Yeah, like that. But you can put a frame on it. You can also change the frame. So it doesn't actually look that much different if you choose the silver one. Does it change at the end there? So let's change that. It does. So that frame colour there, where those buttons are, that's the space grey. But if I tap the other one, then it does actually go to silver. Right, so let's take that down. Right. You could, in there, next thing's the background. So this that it's talking about here is the background of it. So at the moment, there's no background on it. But we can choose a background like white, which you won't see too well. But the others, you will. So you can change the background. So if I wanted this for MacBites, and I wanted an orange background, and I can even stretch that background out to give it more margin at the sides. So, and I've also got all the other colours that I had. I had the grey colours, and I had these muted colours, and I had the standard colours. And they're all available to use there. There we go. I just think that's pretty amazing from an iPad or an iPhone. I know everything that you see here on the iPad works exactly the same on the iPhone as well. So that was down quite narrow. Okay, now it's looking hideous now, isn't it? But there's the idea. Right, the next thing you can do is you can collage effects here. I don't think this is going to particularly work well on here. Let's get the frame off it. So it's back to normal. Let's get the frame off there. So we've got pieces of an image. And what this option will let us do is split it up. So if we look what's happened here, where that join was, it's put a border on it. So I don't think this is a particularly great, that first option, not great for what we're doing. But what I've done with the second option is put a border on it. And if I go into there, you can see what border that would be. So, you know, if I wanted this huge purple border, I could do that. So let's say I wanted yellow. Right, the reason I'm doing this is if I go back in here, I can then put the frame on it. So let's get the frame on it. And you can see that that border's actually inside it. So it does something that really you couldn't do without doing it really manually in an app. This is automatic, remember. It means that you can showcase the image you've taken, which is the black bit where the 941 is. The yellow edge is the bit that has the rounded corner on it then. So you don't lose part of your image with the rounded corner. If you were going to do that, I think I'd do it properly with a thinner border and make the border black. But I'm showing you that you can mix and match these. Although some of the looks, not great, but you could. And that option separates each individual screen out with the big yellow border on the outside and the thinner one on the inside. I don't like that at all, but it's an option. It's an option if you wanted to. This one allows you to change the colours. I think, is that the colours it was doing? I think it was. You can also put some text on it. So, if we set hello MacBites. There we go. Now we need that orange, don't we? And do that. Right, and done at the top. Then it puts that in there. So if you just wanted to put text on it, you can put more text than you would if it was the copyright text. So that is literally just putting text in a place on it. And the other option you have here is to actually draw on it or highlight something. So if I was doing this to say, this is an affinity tutorial and that's an affinity tutorial, then I can actually draw around those. So this is why I was thinking of this more in terms of being akin to Snagit on the iPad. It's not the full thing, but it's not bad. I think it could do most things that you would want. If you needed anything else, then I think you probably need to do it in conjunction with other apps. One I've got is a Notable. That one's pretty good. But this is made for taking screen caps and doing that with it. So from that perspective, that's why I thought, yeah, that's probably the nearest you would get to Snagit right now. Now, that's it on an iPad. But let's switch device. Let's switch device. Right, let's come out of that device. It might let me have that one open and this one as well, but you know, you never know. Right. So I'm trying to get into the phone. This is going to be interesting. Where is the app on the phone? Oh, if only I could find where my toys are. Oh, I know where it would be. It would be in Photography Woman, of course it would be. Right, let's get this set up first and then I will share it with you. Okay, I've just taken some screen caps, which is great. We can use those. Right, so let's get this shared. Fingers crossed. Screen mirroring. Over we go. You know you want to do it or not. No, you do. You do. You definitely do. That's interesting. That didn't work well. What I've got is an iPhone view of my iPad. I've no idea how that happened. Right, let's close that and start again. Right, let's do a stop mirroring and a start mirroring. Go on, you know you want to. I knew you'd let me down. Do not let me down. This is the highlight of my demo, this next bit. Mohawk. Yes, that looks hopeful. Awesome. Right. So this is where it opens up and there's some images. Look at Mike with the dog there. And I've got some other images as well. So one of the things that I've got down here is that I've just won an award on my phone there, so, on my watch. So I've got that one. Now, you're making a selection in here to join these pieces together, but that's not what I want for this one. What I want for this one is to just go in and adjust it. So what it's suggesting is that I crop it, but actually this is the New Year rings thing. And obviously it's 7 days today and I've just finished my exercise. So I've won the award. Again, I've got the crop option at the top. Let's make this. That's better, isn't it? All right, so we can just focus on that. I've got the crop option. I've got the options at the bottom, but I have the tools option as well. So let's tap on tools. So I'm not actually doing anything with that other than tapping on the tools. The tools appear at the bottom. And the options that you've got are exactly the same as they were on the iPad. So I'm not going to show all of those again, but there's one that's particularly good, which is the device frame. It knows what device it's on. So as I tap the device frame, and I go into here, it knows that this was taken on an Apple Watch, which it was. It flashed up on my watch and said, congratulations. So I'm going to say, yeah, and a watch then. So we'll make sure that's that. And then I'm going to choose a colour. The red one looks quite nice. I guess the black one would as well. But what that looks glaringly pink on that screen. But never mind. I can assure you it's salmon on the phone. But it puts it on a watch and you can change the watch, the style of the watch. You've got the woven thing and the rainbow one as well. I think the others are less offensive, but that one's particularly gross. The blue one's not bad, is it? Even that one's not bad, although it's pink. I think it's supposed to be beige, but we'll go for that one. No, we'll go for the blue one. That's less offensive. Now, Mike actually said to me the time he takes to find a mock-up when he wants a mock-up, but you would already have taken the screenshot. So if you've got this on your phone or your iPad, all you'd need to do is to take the screen cap on your watch. I'm presuming we all know how to take a screen cap on our watch. Let me know if you do. If you don't, you need to enable it, is the first thing. Well, don't turn sideways. You need to enable it, and then you push in the crown and the button at the same time. And it will take a screenshot. So these look pretty good, I think. Considering that it's zero work, it's much harder to get these working with mock-ups that you would put in Affinity Photo or Adobe Photoshop. This is just so easy. Right, you also have at the end other options. So if I do this, I can change the background. And I end up with something that's not bad at all. Not bad at all, that I could at least put in a presentation or something like that. So I'm particularly liking that. From there, all I need to do is do a send. So if well, for a start, I could share it as a PDF. And that opens it up in here. Let's do an airdrop to the machine I'm working at, which is Mohawk. And that's shoved it in there. Let's get out of there. You sit up there, don't turn around. And I've got my downloads folder with PDF Expert about to open this. So it's probably done it in the background. There we go. So that is what that looks like when I open it. So it's a pretty good image that. Now, the thing to think about with this PDF export that they've put in, it's great. It really is great. But look what it does. It cuts it into pieces. It cuts it into pieces so it's per page, which I don't think works well with anything. So I think I'd only use the PDF export option if it was something that needed to be PDF and it was smaller than an individual A4 page. Because I don't want to sit here and start gluing things back together. But that is actually a vector that it's exported. Let's go back into there and let's do a different one. So let's get rid of that and bring this back. Right, this time I am going to send that up. So I'm going to go into here. I'll try and make sure that that is selected because that looks like grey to me. That's better. Right. So now I'm going to do that again, but this time I am going to send it. Where's the send gone? Preview, share image. I'll share it to the same place. I don't know why it never seems to know the machine I'm working on. I always have to drill down and do that. Right, so we've sent it over there. And this time it's come across as just a JPEG. Now, if it comes across as a JPEG, then obviously it's not going to have a transparent background, but the JPEG option is far better than the the PDF, because it's not sliced the bottom off, and you can then use that in any way you like. It's so good at the background, with it even being a JPEG, that you could probably knock that out if you needed to. Shall we try knocking it out? Shall we do a keynote and knock it out? Because PowerPoint's awful when it comes to knocking stuff out. So we will do that, but we'll put it on a black slide. So let's have a new slide. Let's get rid of that, but drag it in. And it looks like that. But in here, there is the alpha option, which is pretty good. Don't try doing that on PowerPoint. It's shockingly bad. But on Keynote, it's really good. So despite the fact it's got a white background, that's not bad at all. And that wasn't with me fiddling either. That was just literally just click it and hope. If I was taking a little bit more time, I think there's one tiny bit that I would try and take out underneath there. But other than that, that's pretty good. So when we looked at the app before, it was literally just in terms of it can do a scrolling screen cap, and that was it. But looking at the tool options, I think it could rule out. If I wanted something like that and I needed it quickly, that's the fastest way to do it. Because by definition, the app is on my phone. The screen cap that I took on my watch is on my phone. So all I need to do is open the app, tap it, and I'm done. That's it. Then just send it on to myself, which is much, much quicker. Unless you're trying to put it into PowerPoint, obviously, because PowerPoint's shocking. I must show you that in PowerPoint one day. It's really bad. Really, really bad. But yes, those are the extra things that you can do with Picsew. So lots more than I think we've ever looked at before with it. But I think the problem with it is the discoverability. It's doing things automatically when you're in the crop mode. It's switching over to the tools and applying magic to it without actually letting you know that it's doing it. Which is ridiculous. But now we've mastered it, so it's okay. Oh, Kim is liking this one. I should say it's very cost effective. It's not a subscription or anything stupid like that. Let's go get it. Picsew. US. Let's bring you over here. Which one is it? It's that top one. There we go. So it is free, so you can download it and try it. But it's an in-app purchase, but it's not that much. I mean, these are ridiculous. The standard one is 89 pence. And the advanced one is, the pro one is 179. Maybe that's on sale at the moment. But it's not a subscription either, it's a one-off. So buy it while it's cheap, is what I would say. And it works on the iPad and the iPhone. You don't need to buy them separate. Do you know, that reminds me of an app that used to exist via the App Store in about 2010. And it was a lovely little app. It was free. You went into it, you dragged and dropped an image in, and it gave you a mock-up. That was all it did. But it was great. And it disappeared. Oh, it died. So then it became a lot more work. But that's taking us back to the days when it was simple. The nicest touch that it's got is cleaning up that status bar, because that's an extra job. as I well know. When I take screenshots, I have to clean them up to the nth degree, so that's really nice. So, highly recommend that one. Oh, Paul's big spender. Gone for the Pro version. I would. You might as well. You never know what they'll add to the Pro version. So there you go. Oh, indeed. So hopefully that will prove useful, particularly if you're taking screenshots for tutorials or manuals or anything like that. But, you know, sometimes even when you've taken a screenshot and you're sending it somewhere, like maybe even your mother, and then your mother sees that you're up at 4:45 and thinks that you're up early when actually you've not been to bed yet. So you can hide the whole thing. It was 9:41. It's always 9:41. Okay, let me get all of this out of the way and head back where we were. Right, only I'm going to have to do weird things. Weird things. Right. It's not often I talk about Adobe, so do forgive me. The reason I'm talking about Adobe this time is twofold. One, it's something new, but two, they've sunsetted a whole range of things to bring this to you. So, who has heard of the Spark framework, Adobe Spark? Adobe Spark came out a good few years ago now, and it started off with one app, and then before you knew it, as it always happens with Adobe, there's 27 apps, all doing slightly different things. The slightly different things that these were doing, it started off and it was for social media posts. So you would throw an image in and then throw some text in and you created a social media post. Then there was long form stories. So if you've ever heard of Microsoft Sway, this was what one of the Spark apps did. It gave you an opportunity to put a lot of text in and several images, and it would organise it for you. Do you remember us trying to say that doesn't look right?
I do.
Because things Scunthorpe. If you've never heard us mention Scunthorpe before, Scunthorpe's a town in the northeast. And they had problems with their mail. Nobody would accept mail from Scunthorpe Council. Think about it. And Scunthorping is where you have some text and some automatic app has just cut off the beginning and the end and left you with something rather unfortunate. So I wanted more control over it, so I never used the Spark framework. But Adobe then moved forward and they brought one out for video as well. So they had all of these different applications underneath the Adobe Spark umbrella. And what they decided to do was do away with the whole lot and turn it into Adobe Creative Cloud Express, at which point everybody's heart totally sank. But there's a free version. So we mustn't grumble. But the thing is, when you look at what they're promising in this, have you noticed there's a 3-month free trial now, whereas last week it was 7 days?
Oh.
Funny that, isn't it?
Peter asked, does Picsew just work with screenshots or does it take screenshots as well?
It does have the ability to link in with Safari. So you go to Safari and you say, take me a scrolling screen cap, and it will send it straight to it. It isn't only screen caps. If you have images, say you've taken images of something on your Mac, as long as you can get the images onto the phone, then it can work with any of them, and it will try and find the join between them. So it's more than screen caps, but screen caps is what it was originally designed for. Right, so this is... They've taken all of the apps from Spark and they've thrown them in the air and they've all landed, and it's now basically Adobe Canva. But we mustn't use the Canva word. But it is very, very similar to Canva. So it's a completely new brand, although they've hooked into Creative Cloud, which I thought was a mistake because people immediately think, I've got to pay for that. As you can see, the free plan is there, and you can use it as long as you want. So the premium is only if you want to upgrade that. But do bear in mind, if you think about it, the premium is going to be $10 a month, and that is all you're going to get for it. But if you wanted something else like Lightroom or Photoshop or InDesign, you would get this for free, the whole Creative Cloud Express thing, for free if you subscribe to anything else from Adobe for $20. which would take the price of your InDesign subscription down by half. So might need to think about that. But I think we'll concentrate on the free side of it, won't we? But the idea now is, instead of limiting you to stories or social images or just flyers, the whole thing's there. So when you see this, when we go in and have a look at it, you'll think, that looks like Canva. That's exactly what I thought. They are not mentioning the Canva word, but I think when you look at it, that's clearly where they're aiming. Their unique selling point is when you get into it and you start designing, the tools you are using are based on Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign. So they're saying it's the engine that's behind all of their fully fledged Creative Cloud apps that's powering it. Now, whether anybody cares about that, I don't know. Really don't know. I don't think I'd care about it. So let's go and have a look at it. I had that over there, but now I've got something else open. So let's get rid of that. Okay. So if you look for Creative Cloud Express, you get taken in Google and it will show you, yes, it says adobe.com Express, but it's saying formerly Adobe Spark. They're putting that in there for SEO. So if you're looking for Spark because you don't know it's changed, they're both coming up. But that's the idea. So the pricing that I've just shown you is that pricing bit there when my mouse pointer comes to join the party. So this was what I was looking at, but this is the details of it. So they do promise you get an awful lot for free. So they're talking about thousands of unique templates and assets and fonts and images from the stock collection that they have as well. It says basic editing, whereas the other one is, how do they word it there? Premium features. So it's basic editing versus premium features. So ability to refine cutouts and things like that. You can use this on the web and on mobile. There's mobile apps because there used to be a range of mobile apps for Spark. So if you update your Spark apps now, they're gone. It will update you to this side of it. We discussed this on a MacBites. Can you find the number, Mike? Because we said something like, it says thousands of templates and design assets. And it's something like you get 100,000 images free. And I'm thinking, well, how many more would you get in the premium? And the answer was over 1 million. So there is a big difference, but I guess it depends on whether the images you want are the images that are there in front of you or not. Oh, Renee is not going this way. He's not going this way. No, I've got Canva as well, but I would get this free. So I'll have a look at it. To me, if I find something in here that I want, then I'll do it in here. If it's in Canva, then I'll do it in Canva. You see at the bottom where it says if you do join, you also get access to Adobe Premiere Rush, which is the shoot and share video service. You've got the Spark video thing and the Spark page thing, but I think in the end, they'll just roll the whole lot into one. So you can just start for free, etc. But I should be able to sign in because I think I'm already logged into Adobe. There we go. It's found me. So once you've set it up, so either started your free trial or logged in, you are taken to this, which again, looks like Canva, doesn't it? It's Canva, but with Adobe at the top. Interesting for me that I looked at the bottom where it's saying recent, and a couple of those I played with a while ago, but this one with the bear on, I actually did that. I did that for real in Spark ages and ages ago. So what we've got in here. Well, I've got access to this through Creative Cloud. If you have any Creative Cloud subscription, does not have to be the full one. But if you've got any and it costs you more than $20, which is going to be about £16, something like that, a month, then you will have access to the premium version of this completely for free. So in here, you have got the ability to work with your templates. So I'm on the home bit at the moment. But then you've got categories of content. And these, again, very, very like Canva. You've got Instagram stories, you've got Instagram posts and Facebook posts, as well as standard content like posters and logos and flyers. And over here, you've got all these different things, including, album covers. No, I won't be doing an album cover in it, but they're in categories. You've also got down here that you can work, instead of working with what project you want to work with, maybe you just want to do something quickly. You've got an image, you want to resize it. That might be an idea to try, Carol. You never know if it's powered by Photoshop. Fingers crossed. But you can remove a background. Might work better than PowerPoint. Convert to GIFs. You've got all these options down the bottom. And again, they scroll across. If you want to convert from PDF or to PDF, that is indicating it's a premium thing. I'm thinking I should be able to do that, but I'll probably find out that there's some caveat on here. No, I'm all right. All I need to do is drag and drop a PDF. And then I can export to any one of the following. Oh, it's the unbake the cake thing you get at work. How can I take this PDF and turn it into a meringue or something like that? That's usually how it goes. So I've got all of these actions down the bottom. Then as I scroll down, and there's a lot of things to scroll down, it gives me detail. So it's giving me the same content in a way, templates, Instagram stories. And if I go down, Instagram posts and anything that's trending, and then I use that one. I've definitely used that stock image before, but not from in here. So this is the Facebook one. So it's giving you more detail. So it's taking the categories that were at the top, but giving you more detail on each. So if you think, yeah, I want to do a Facebook post, then you find one of these that you want to use and then start working on it. Then you've got your posters and your logos, and you keep going. So this is what's included with it app-wise. So it tells you all about that as well. Then you've got your flyers, collages, book covers. So in essence, any kind of material, design material that you're looking for. I could do a YouTube thumbnail, couldn't I? I gave up doing resumes years ago. But there's all sorts in here, as you can see. So it's the best place to start is to start with something that looks like you want it to be. So if it's a menu, don't start with a poster. Start with a menu. And it will help you along. There's also an entire range of tutorials. And I'll be honest, I haven't watched any of them yet because I thought I don't want to fall off my chair laughing, I might hurt myself. It's what Mike and I call a bidder note training. Look at the length of these tutorials. 24 seconds, 21 seconds, 19 seconds. Have we got any advance on 19 seconds? I'm not sure what tutorial you'd get in 19 seconds. Oh, 18 seconds. There you go. So to adjust the text, the tutorial is 18 seconds. Now, if they can even tell you where the button is in 18 seconds, they're doing well. There you go. Oh, unbelievable. But there are a range of tutorials. So there's lots of them, but they're all quite short. I prefer tutorials that actually take me from the beginning to the end. And I know there might be things in there that I don't want to know, but I think breaking it up to this degree, I'm going to waste more time finding the tutorial to tell me what I need to know than I am actually watching the tutorial. But yeah, if you can teach us something about Excel in 18 seconds, Mike, that would be good. Then you can... I guess you could apply the bold button, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that'd be about it. So this is what we've got on here. So I think, shall we start with a YouTube thumbnail? So I'm going to click the view all on that, and that's going to take me through to all of the covers that they've got. But now we've got different categories. So we're drilling down, and is the video I'm putting up to do with art? Well, if it was to do with video production or music production, that one's not bad. That one in the middle at the top. But let's go along. So if it's a Photoshop tutorial, that one's not bad. And DIY. So they're giving you a place to start. What I would say is, unless you are really in a desperate hurry, do take the time to customize these, because, you know, if it's a really good one, a million other people are going to be choosing that one as well. So let's say I do that first one, that one. So I'm going to click Start From, and it lets me see it. That's just taking me through, but I want to create from this template. So let's go into that. And that takes us into the editor, which again looks identical to Canva. Seriously, it really is. It's just Canva. Right, so I need to make some changes to this. So this one, I've got the text at the top there, and I want this to say Blue Yeti, my Blue Yeti course. And down here is just another text block. So I go in there. So all you need to know. These even work in the same way. So if I wanted to make that bigger, so it matched the one above, I can do that. Let's put that down there. And it's twanging as well. You're getting that line. Now, I must admit, I like that. And I don't think it's great in Affinity Designer. So there it matches. And then I'm going to move it up a little bit. And it's all centered, and I know it is. I probably would do more than that in terms of customization, but, you know, that'll do. But looking at what we've got over here, that's the text that I was going to edit. This is the style of the text, including a colour. So this one, the colour is coming from behind it, but this one, it's actually the colour of the text. So if I click on there, I've got a range of colours. So that's the current colour palette, but I can create custom ones if I like. So if I wanted this to be very much a MacBites orange, let's get a MacBites orange. About there, I think. Goes lovely with the pink, doesn't it? But you can change all of that. You can change in here the actual text itself, although I do think that one works quite well. You can change the size of it. And you've got a whole range of text-based options as well. So align to the left, centre and the right. In here, you've got magic alignments. I love magic alignments. In this, you can put the text around it. So I guess if you wanted to wrap it around something or in a circle. I mean, it's nice, isn't it, if it works, but that's not really what I want. So how do I get rid of that? That's a good point. How do I get rid of it if I don't want that? Oh, it's done it now. Let's see if the undo works. Oh, lovely, the undo does work multiple times. Am I likely to recommend it? Well, I actually am, aren't I? But, you know, let's get rid of that for the moment. Right. I can change the transparency of it. So it's looking very similar to Picsew at this point, isn't it? The image enlarged does increase the file size. Does it do anything useful, though? Does it actually... I can't see it being as good as a dedicated app, but there is a range of applications that are there to rescale images. And the prices go from free to as much as you want to pay. You know, eye-bleeding in terms of prices. But some of them, with the demo files I've seen, look amazing. I don't think in here it's going to be quite as amazing. But if it could do anything, if you're stuck with a really low quality image, if it could do anything, then it's a step in the right direction, isn't it? But if all it does is increase the file size, then no. What's the quality of the image like? Let's have a look at that. Right, you've also got shapes down here and whether you have shadows or outlines, so you can toggle this on. So now it looks even worse. I could make this look hideous, couldn't I? Oh dear. So it is a shadow, but it's a shadow of a colour, not just like a dark shadow. Or I can put a shape round it. Oh, lovely. Which I'm presuming then, up here, that has got a shape around it. So the text itself is quite dark and that doesn't look great at all. But you put that on top of bright pink and it looks great. And there's also like a shape behind it. So this is an icon that has a certain colour and there's a transparency on it. So it's all built up. So behind that, I would suspect there's also going to be that image as well. Down here, it's saying 4. So when I look at this, it's showing me the actual separate pieces that I can work with. So I'm now working with the background. So in essence, that is the layers panel that you've got down there. It's just kind of layers for a 3-year-old, but it's there. Okay, so that is one of them, and that is what I've got in there. I've not even given it a name or anything at this point, but it's telling me it's being saved as I'm working. So let's go back to the templates. Now, at this point, I'm in the art section, so I'm not at the home stage at this point. But I can work upwards, so I can keep working upwards. So I've now gone up from that and now I'm working with all templates. So if I wanted something there to do with Recording Studio, I could actually search at that top level. And go on, tell me you found something. Great. So it's got posters, it's got socials, it's got all kinds of stuff that it considers would be relevant for a recording studio. In fact, it might be better if I put recording studio. There we go. Let's see what we get with that. Yep, to do with video, audio, shapes. So yeah, that one looks like, although it's a receipt, behind it looks like a record. So I can see why it's picked these. A concert, studios, records, join us live in the studio. So these really, there's that much in there to start choosing from. You're probably going to be overwhelmed with it all until you find the one. Dental studio. There you go. Dental studio. Until you find the one that you think, yeah, that's nearest to what I want, and then start editing it. Now, in addition to the templates, you've still got here text. So it's got social text. So if we wanted to say sign up today, it actually puts that on your poster just by clicking it. So these, if you think of the text as being like stamps, now when it brings it through, it will bring it through as a full layer, and you will be able to edit that, to work with it, to edit the text, to change the colour. So we've got the word today. If we wanted that, it's lobster regular at the moment, but if we wanted it to be the hideous pink, you could do that. So everything's editable, but it's just like stamping it on. And it's grouped them into social. It's grouped them into logos, seasonal, headlines, paragraphs of text, just nice phrases. Do you know, if I see breaking news again, every time I turn the news on, something's breaking news. But everything you need's in there. So if you wanted to do that and say there's a 50% off sale, literally just click it and it will stick it in there. Now it's over here. So let's bring that in. Very simple to work with, and it would probably make sense to make both of those. So let's grab the top bit and make that white. And grab the bottom bit and make that white. Very simple. Obviously, you can do all of this in Affinity Designer. You could do it in Illustrator. It's just going to take you longer because you would have to, at the same time as you're in an app, you would have to source all of this content from somewhere. So I can see why people might go for it in the same way. That was just to wake you up, Simon, after the VAT thing. It's just there for you. So that's the text, then there's the images. So if you like everything you've done, but you want a different background image, then you can search the stock. So we wanted recording studio. And see what we've got in there. Lots of recording studios. So I could change it for this one if I wanted. And it's popped that in there. And then I would scale it and stick it at the back. Then we've got icons. Pretty much anything you could think of. So for me, let's try microphone. There we go. Plenty of different microphones. That one tends to be known as a podcasting mic, doesn't it? And it doesn't look altogether unlike the Blue Yeti. I'm making this worse, not better. I'm aware I'm making it worse, not better. But, you know, it's a demo, so let's do that. Then we've got design assets. So these are like transparent things. So obviously trending at the moment, we've got Christmas trees and also holiday stuff, all grouped together. So if you're looking for something to put with it, then you have this whole range of design assets. Then you've got backgrounds, which you could use from a photo, but these are like dedicated to be backgrounds. Although don't use these organics, these are bad. That is terrible. There we go. So there's all of those. Also included is logos. So you can upload your own logo. And there's libraries. Now, libraries are great. Where did these come from? Oh, MacBites. I've not been in here to do that. Where have these come from? These are my Creative Cloud libraries. A library being a collection of assets. And they started life in Photoshop. They then appeared in Illustrator. Then we've seen them in Adobe Capture, which is a free app for iOS. And now they're available in here. So if I wanted my MacBites logos or assets or whatever I've added, give people access. Right. So in here, I've got no templates in it, but I should have some assets in it. And there's my waves. So I could add my waves at that point. And I can drag and drop into there as well. But there are my waves. Not looking grand, but thinking about it. So here we go. Make it bigger. There we go. So I've got my waves in there. So all the assets that I've also got in Affinity Designer, I can have exactly the same ones in here. It would be even better if the asset collections from Affinity Designer were compatible with the Adobe format, but they're not. So these have come originally from Photoshop or the free version of Adobe Capture on iOS. These libraries are becoming more powerful because you can now hook them up to the Office applications as well. So finally, and it must be easy 10 years, they're making them more useful. So whereas I've just like, oh, here's a demo, here's a MacBites one, there you go, there's 2 assets in it. I can now see it really would be worth my while to build up those libraries because I'd have them in here for when I'm out on the road and I need to do something quickly on an iPad, but I'd also have them available from the Office applications as well. So that would probably be worthwhile for me now. So now whip off back to the home thing and just show you that you've also got the projects that you've been working on. So these are the projects that I've been playing with. You have the libraries, which you've just seen. The learning is the bidder note training that I mentioned. Lovely. But brands is very important. Brands enables you to create what is a special kind of library. It's a single place where you can upload your logo, you can pick your colours, your brand colours. People can share these with you. So there's at the top, there's your brands, and there's brands that are shared with you. And you can have more than one brand. So if you've got totally different assets, we might have very orangey for MacBites, but more midnight blue for after hours. We can create that. And they then live within the Adobe Creative Cloud Express interface for you to just drag and drop into all of the assets and media that you create. So again, Canva does that. So it's in here now. So just think of Canva with the Adobe Creative Cloud logo on it and you're good to go. Not that I think you're going to want to spend. I guess it's comparable, isn't it? How much is Canva? I thought it was $99 a year. But it's $99 a year for 2 of us. Or up to 5, I think. So that's really cost effective for a team. Whereas in here, that's going to be one person. But by comparison,
$10.99 a month.
I think that's cheaper if you take it by the year, though.
Yeah, £100.
Yeah, which we thought was okay because Mike doesn't want to spend much time in Affinity Designer, do you?
No.
And I haven't got much time to spend in Affinity Designer, so it's like get the job out the door and get it out fast. It's the quick stuff that I would put on there, social and stuff like that, rather than anything else. It feels like Canva today rather than Canva when Canva started. Because when Canva started, it was like, nice idea, but, you know, you're not there yet. But where Canva is today, I would say Adobe is pretty much 95% of the way there. And there is always the free version. So you might as well try it with the free version. Just don't get suckered into any of these, take it on a trial. But like I said, the first day I looked at this, that trial was 7 days. And I thought, that's not very long. You know, that's a bit mean. 14 would have been nicer, but 28. But now they've gone for a 3-month trial. So that's obviously been their feedback that they need to do that. Is it worth looking at? Yes, it might be just the thing you need. And if you want to stick with the free version, stick with the free version and upload your own assets. So that is Adobe Creative Cloud Express. What do you think? What do you think? Oh, Patricia says, I showed Mike's photo, but you've never seen me. How did that happen? I have been on the screen at least in the last 3 years. What, twice?
You have.
One was President Sunday, and what was the other one? There was definitely another one. I've no idea why now. Didn't I appear last week?
Yes.
Didn't I mention Grandad?
As a 3-year-old.
I said I hadn't changed.
No.
It's only a matter of time. I don't look that much different. Bit taller. But other than that, identical. What was I demonstrating with that?
Don't know.
I have no recollection of what I was doing last week. You'll have to look back at last week's. You're guessing that Canva's R&D budget is smaller than Adobe's. Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But to be honest, Adobe have made quite a few missteps, shall we say. Like churning it out as competition to Sway. Either there was no competition with Sway or Microsoft's not bothered with Sway, and now they're taking on Canva. So while they may have the budget, they don't seem to have the staff to think in terms of how things are going to look in 5 years. Adobe are still, to some degree, mired in what things looked like 20 years ago, unfortunately. They seem to be following, not leading. Like, this would have been amazing. Just think, they could have done this 10 years ago, and it would have been to die for. But they're just following what somebody else is doing, and it even looks like Canva. It's like acknowledging, well, fair enough, Canva are right, that's how it should be done. And they just do that. They're not looking at Canva and thinking, how could we improve it? It's like, how can we build our own Canva? Which, that's a bit sad, to be honest. It's sad. Oh, I was at a football match. You're quite right, Carol. It was that one where it was January, wasn't it? When was that Premier League thing on?
It was in April.
Was it April? Was it that far ago? Oh, wow. I'll find it. I'll dig it out while Mike's doing his let function, and I'll put it up again. And that way you will have seen me. There you are. Right. Okay. Now, I think the next thing I've got... Yes, I'm right. Pay attention. We have a great freebie. Mike will put the link in. This is from Graphic River. So Envato every month give away 6 items. And the 6 items they give away, it's one from each category of what they've got. And this is included in Graphic River, which is where all their design assets are. But this is a presentation template, and it's a PowerPoint presentation template, but that needn't be a calamity if you use Keynote, because Keynote will open PowerPoint files. This is one of the January files of the month, and it's got hundreds and hundreds of slides in it. It's all to do with presenting data, which sounds like the last section of the show tonight, doesn't it? And indeed, I'm going to take you through this. So if you want to download it, Mike will put the link in. You download it ready, and then I will take you through what's in there and show you what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. So have you got that link?
I'm just about to post it.
It's coming your way now.
There we go.
Oh, Patricia says I've got to create a cartoon version of myself. You'll bet it's a cartoon. Gee, I did have that thing. We went to a Catinian event, and there was an artist there, like a caricature artist.
Caricature, yeah.
And she was doing like couples in caricatures. I don't know how many she got done in the night. We kind of like, oh, fancy that. And had it done. I've no idea where that went, though, but I think I did take a photo of it. I'll have to dig that out as well. Right, so download that, because coming up, I'm going to show you how to make the very, very best of it. Right, so Mike is doing the let function, aren't you?
Yes.
If I let you.
If you let me.
Yes. So let me key up your screen. There you are. And you tell me when you're ready to go.
I'm ready. I've pressed record.
Not a desk icon in sight. Okay, you're with them.
There we go. There's me desktop. Because you wanted to see my desktop. Right, okay. The let function. I did this ages ago, but I thought I'd do it again with a few more examples. A few different examples. So the let function. The let function is fairly new. It was introduced last year. It was made available. This sounds like I could just press a macro and have this next bit on automatic.
No, just get on with it.
Yeah, it's available to Office 365 subscribers, and yes, Kim, it is on a Mac. It's available to Mac users. So yeah, that's the bit that I could just automate, because everything seems to be for 365 users these days. But basically, what it allows you to do is to speed up calculations and to make formulas easier to understand, easier to edit, and easier to troubleshoot. Now, I think most of you are probably aware, because I've covered it many times in the past, about naming cells. I can hear myself in my headphones and I'm not even wearing them. So
You're noisy.
I'll just mute myself. Yeah, when you're working with formulas, particularly long formulas, you can assign names to cells, and then you can reference those names within formulas, and that often makes the formulas easy to understand as well. So just to give you an example, Let's say in G1, is an exchange rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to G1, and in the name box, which is this bit here where it actually says G1 and a drop down, I'm going to click in the name box, delete out what's there, and I'm going to type in exchange rate. Now you can type anything you like in there, but whatever you type in there, as long as it's got no spaces and begins with a letter, that is a name, a user-defined name that you, or in this case I, have assigned to G1. You've got to press enter, otherwise it doesn't complete the name creation process. But what I've done now is I've named G1 exchange rate. As I said, you can use anything you like, but it makes logical sense to do that. And then I can use that name in a formula. So I'll go to C2, and here I want to calculate the price in euros, assuming column B is the dollar price. So I will take the dollar price and multiply it by G1. So instead of putting B2 times G1, I can put B2 multiplied by, and I can start typing exchange rate. And as soon as I do, exchange rate appears in my drop down list. It doesn't have the FX against it, which is for function. It has this little grid against it, which indicates that it's a name that's been assigned to a cell. But what I've done there is I've used the name in a formula. The best reason for using that is when you need to use absolutes, the dollar signs, which again I've covered on many occasions. But if you actually use a name instead of a cell reference, you can then copy that formula and it automatically takes the names of the cell rather than having to remember, as I said, to use the dollar signs. So that is something that's been around in Excel for years and years and years and years. What the let function does is it takes this a stage further and allows you to create the variable directly within the formula. So when I say variable, when you're using a formula like this, where you're using a named cell, that name can be thought of as a variable, which is basically a text label that you can assign to a value. In this particular case, the text label is being assigned to a cell. But with a let, the named variable is part of the formula. So the let function won't replace named cells. It's just another option. Some people don't really see the logic of it. The main benefit is when you've got really, really long formulas, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples of that. And also it is supposed to, in certain circumstances, speed up your formulas. You know, it's get the old stopwatch out, press start when you press enter and press stop when it's finished recalculating, and it will. And there's also third-party apps that you can get that will tell you how long it's taken to recalculate a spreadsheet. But obviously it depends on the speed of your processor, the amount of memory, the complexity of the calculations, all sorts of things. But using let is supposed to speed up calculations, but in some of the things that I've looked at during my research of it, it didn't always speed it up to any significant sort of degree. But I always say, even if it doesn't, it's worth knowing about these functions, and then you can make your own mind up whether you'd ever use it or not. Okay, so let's just do a very simple example to start with so you can see how it works. In the real world, I probably wouldn't use the let function in this scenario. So imagine you've got 5 teams in a company raising money for charity, and the company has said they will double whatever the employees raise. So the employees have raised £600, which is just all of those numbers added together, and the company will pay £1,200. The total raised, therefore, is £1,800. So in reality, I'd just go to E2 and I would put E1 multiplied by 2, and that would give me twice what the team raised. But for the purpose of this simple demo, I'm going to show you how a let function would work, or how you'd do exactly the same formula with a let function. So you put equals let, open brackets, as you would do with any function. And what comes as the first parameter is a name. Now that is the name that's being given to the variable, and it's akin to the name of the cell. So you can put anything you like in here. I'm going to put the word total. It's not case sensitive. I've got into this habit of starting all my my names with the letter V for variable, but you don't have to do that. It's just a habit I've got into. So that's my variable name. Then I put my comma, which you always use to separate your parameters in any function. And then you have what is called the name value. Now it says name value 1 because you can have as many variables as you like. So variable name 1, value 1, variable name 2, value 2, and so on and so forth. In this case, the value that's going to be assigned to that variable is whatever's in E1. So it could be a number, it could be a formula, or it could be a single cell reference. Then another comma. If you're then going to have another variable, then you put its name in here. So that would be variable number 2. But if you're not going to have another variable, and you really need to know up front how many variables you need, so you just need to think about it before you enter the formula. But in this case, there's only one variable, so the third parameter is the actual calculation, and the calculation will be V total. You'll notice as soon as I type VT, it pops up the V total in the list with an X next to it, which is indicating that it's a name of a variable. So V total multiplied by 2. And that gives me 1200. If I go and change one of these numbers, that will update E1 and it will also update E2. So very simple example. As I said, in the real world, you probably wouldn't use the let for this because it's so simple, but it illustrates the point. So just a quick check, have we got any questions? Oh, Simon says you can do this in Google Sheets. Excellent, excellent. All right. So yes, does that mean that Microsoft have ripped off Google yet again?
They all rip each other off.
They do, don't they? Okay, next example is a loan calculator. And again, this is something I've done loads of times in various different guises. I remember doing one for Johnny when he was getting a car. But this one, we have a repayment period. So this is either annually or monthly. And that is just a data validation. So if I go up to the data menu and I go over to the validation button, this is a list that's got annually and monthly in it. So we can choose whether we want to see how much we've got to pay back annually or how much we pay back monthly. And I'll show you how I've done that in a second. But I'm borrowing £10,000, dollars, whatever, over 1 year, 8% interest. And the formula there, because if I change that to annually, it changes that figure there. If I change that to monthly, that figure changes there. The formula in there says if B1 is equal to annually, then use that formula to work out the repayment. Otherwise, use that formula divided by 12 to work out the repayment. Now you'll notice that essentially that and that are the same. The only difference between those two formulas is the monthly one, the false parameter in the if, is dividing by 12. So here is an example of where the let function would come in useful. So if you have something that is repeated within a formula, this is where the let function would come in useful. This is one of its uses. One, it tidies up the formula, makes the formula easy to understand, avoids the repetition. And you know, if you had to type this in 2, 3, 4 times because you had multiple ifs, then you could easily make a mistake when you're typing that in. And because you've got it in there twice, behind the scenes, Excel has to actually do the calculation twice. So what we could do is we could replace that formula with a slightly different formula. So I'll delete B7 and I'll type it in a different way. So equals let open brackets. I need a variable name, which, as I said, for me, I tend to always start with the letter V, and I'm going to call this one Loan Calc. Could call it anything, but I try and be logical and sensible. So that's my name, comma. The value of that variable, well, the value of the variable is going to be the actual PMT function, which does the loan calculation. So PMT, interest rate, comma, number of payments, comma, future value, which basically is the value of the loan. And I always stick a minus sign in front of the future value parameter of the PMT function, because if you don't, the actual result, the amount to pay, will come out as a negative because the PMT function is seen as money flowing out. Okay, so that is the actual value of that variable name. If I was going to have a second parameter, a second variable, I would put that in here, but I'm not. So now I need the actual calculation. So that will be if B1 equals annually. So if B1 has the word annually in it, then loan calc. Otherwise, loan calc, and it's V loan calc, isn't it? Otherwise it won't work. V loan calc divided by 12. So basically what I've done is I've replaced having that formula in twice by having that formula in once and assigning it to that named variable. So if B1 has annually in it, then just do the PMT function. If it doesn't, then do the PMT function divided by 12. And I need an extra closing bracket. And what do we call that?
Bracket blind.
Bracket blindness. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that one's worked. And I will do one more example. This is a little bit more complex, this one. Okay, I have the names of some people and I have their dates of birth. And I want to know which period their date of birth relates to. And it's basically going from the start of the month to the end of the month. So because Fred was born on the 18th of March 1970, that is in the period 1st of March 1970 to 31st of March 1970, and so on and so forth. Now, the formula is using the EO month function, which is end of month, and it is taking the previous, it's taking the start of the month. So that is how you calculate the start of the month. You say, look at the month that's in B2, get the end of that month, get the start of the previous month, and combine that to the word to, and then combine that to the end of the month for the current month.
Have you answered the question?
I haven't seen the question. Will the formula work on each sheet in your spreadsheet? What you'd have to do, Kim, is you'd have to plug the same formula in again multiple times. So that's actually the big difference between using named cells, which is what I showed you at the beginning, where you can actually use that exchange rate name multiple times, and using the let function. The let function, you can only use the names within that one formula. So yes, you're assigning a variable as you use it, Simon. Exactly. Okay, so as I said, I'm not going to go through really in detail what that formula is doing, but it's basically, as I said, it's grabbing the first day of whatever month that is, adding the word to it, and grabbing the last day. But if we actually have a look at this, we've actually got the EO month function in there twice. So one, you could make a mistake when you're entering that formula in, but two, because it's in there twice, it requires the calculation engine to do the calculation twice. It needs to look at the last day of the month twice. So here's an alternative. I'll just make that column a bit wider, because what I'm going to do is, instead of deleting these formulas, I'm going to put the let formulas into column D, and that way we can compare column C and D and check that they are the same, which they should be. Okay, so equals let, open brackets, and for this one I need two variables. One to represent the start of the month, one to represent the end of the month. So I'm going to call this one vstart, comma, and then the calculation that's going to generate the value of vstart will be EO month, can't spell that, EO month, there we go, EO month, B2, which is the cell with the date, -1, close brackets, +1. So what that means is, look at what's in B2, grab the date that is the last day of the previous month, and add 1 to it. So if you think about the logic, that's going to be the first day of the next month, which is what we want. And then put in a comma. And now I want a second variable. So I don't want to put my calculation in here. So I'll call this one vEnd. And this one will be EO month B2, 0. So that will give us the last day of whatever the month is in B2. And then the calculation, because I don't want any more variables, is going to be text. But instead of putting EO month B2 -1, I'll put vstart. And then when you use the text function, you need to specify the format. And then I need to add that to the word to. And then I need to add that to text vEnd, which is our second variable, and that is going to be no bracket there, that's going to be a comma, dd mmm y. And you can see we get exactly the same there, and copy that down. So now I could delete these and I could use those instead. So yes, you get the same value, the same result, which is what we want. But what I've done there is I've simplified those formulas. They may not look simplified because, you know, this formula still looks quite complex, but compared to this formula, it is a little bit simpler, and it will run a little bit faster because you've not actually had to get it to do the EO month within the calculation multiple times. It still needs to do the EO month twice, but it does those at the beginning, which is what Simon said. Okie dokie, and that is it. That is a look at the let function. Do we have any other questions? I just see Simon's asked another one. If you constantly use this formula and need to tweak it, you only have to change it once as a variable. Is there a way to show which cells have variables declared? Not that I know of, Simon, but I can check it out for you. I'm not aware that there is a quick way to do that. Okay, no other questions. We've now gone on to talk about memory in Macs. Okay, I will pass back to you.
Oh, hang on. Carnage over here.
Oh.
Carnage. Right, let me just get this up and running. It all change while your back was turned. Not even joking. Right, let's do that and do that. Pixew's just been updated.
Oh.
Literally just been updated. So, we were talking about the PDF bit of it and saying how pants it was. Oh, it now doesn't page. So you can get your vector graphics without it paging. You just need to install it. Yes, I'm still hanging out with Notability. But I updated everything else because I couldn't see my notes, Mike.
Oh.
You know that the update that we covered a couple of weeks back?
Yeah.
The Notion one? Yeah, that wasn't supported on iOS until today.
Oh.
So that's now working again. So everything's fine and dandy. So I need to move to somewhere else because, you see, they talk about responsive to your audience, right? We've come out of Excel and we're going into something especially for Patricia. Yeah, because I have been seen. I've just remembered where I've been seen. Right, that's me. I've no idea how old I am. What do you reckon? I'm no good guessing kids' ages.
About 3.
You reckon about 3? I've got a very determined look on my face. I remember that. I do remember the day, to be honest. So maybe 3, maybe 4. Mum put me in a bolero that my gran had knitted. Now, I'd have no problem with my gran knitting it, but I am not wandering around in a pink bolero. But that's what happened. Anyway, if we're moving on a few years, the year Mike and I met. Oh, 1992. 30 years this year. There we are. Love's young dream, age 25. Well, I was 25. It was my birthday. Mike was 24. Look at that. And the next year, and it was totally us that did this, there we were celebrating winning the league at Old Trafford, and there's me on the left. I did have some champagne in my hand, as Mike did, because those were the days you allowed plastic cups.
Yeah.
And champagne.
And alcohol.
Yeah, that's not happening anymore. But that's our seats at Old Trafford, and that's how close the manager is to our seats. So there you go. There's 3 pictures of me. Good grief, Patricia, how many do you want? I think we'll go for the one when I was 25. That's probably about best. Right, okay, so how to effectively present data. I think we've touched on this before, but not in this kind of way. We looked at different applications.
I've just noticed.
You just noticed what?
I've got the same jumper on in those 2 pictures.
You were very poor, Mike. You were a poor student. You didn't have any clothes. Oh, let's not take that to its natural conclusion. Leave it alone. Move along.
Walk away.
Right. It's infographic type data, data where you don't want to sit and do it all in Excel. You just want to summarise that kind of data. So that freebie, that one, that's exactly the freebie. I think I changed the labels, but in essence, how do you put that together? So I've handpicked a few of these to recreate to show you how it was done. This is another one, and these are not. There's 2 different types of 2 specific ways to create this kind of content in a presentation app. You automatically think of Excel charts, but Excel charts don't look like that often, do they, Mike?
No.
So the problem with Excel is...
Not even mine.
No, it's fantastic in terms of power. But in terms of presenting that data, far too many people just copy and paste the Excel chart, or worse still, the entire data table. Oh, I've seen that so many times. So that presentation that's available for free download, go and download it, and we'll have a look at it now. And then we will reverse engineer it, and I will show you how it all works. So what we've got is, these are the files that you get. So you have your license, and you have a zip file with the contents in it. So unzip that. That gives you this folder with everything inside it. And you have your documentation, so the fonts that are used, where to get them from. There is the help guide, and so it will actually guide you through it if there's anything that you need help with there. It tends to be the basics of PowerPoint, to be honest. But as I said, this all works in Keynote as well. And then you have the actual theme files, which are in that third folder. Right, you have multiple things in here, so I'm going to take you through what you've actually got. First thing you have is a completely free icon pack. Now, when I said this to Mike, Mike was less than impressed, weren't you?
Yeah.
He said, they've already got icons in Office. And I said, yes, they have, but not these icons. So within the file that you download, when you unzip it, you are going to have this icon pack. And this is what it's going to look like. So within it, I don't know why it's got transitions on that, but it has. You've got all the icons that you need, all laid out where they're grouped. But if you click once to select the group and then another once on the icon you want, you can copy it from there and paste it wherever you need. With it being an icon, it's also formattable. So we'll just have a look at all the icons there are. The ones that I specifically mentioned to Mike, which are not in PowerPoint, I have no idea why, is a tick and a cross in a circle. So we've got the mathematical options. We've got a tick there. We've got a cross there as well. There's one there. But I wanted it like solid. And I think I either found it in here. Here's another tick and a cross. But again, not in a circle. I think I put the circles and I used the tick and the cross from in here. So there's a whole range of things that you've got in here, and not all of them are included with PowerPoint. PowerPoint's icons change on a regular basis, but these just give you some icons that you can use in relation to, well, anything that you like, really, but some of them specifically in relation to data. So if you're saying like a dashboard, then there's this dashboard icon there. That little fella there, that one. And you can copy it. And if we go into there...
Patricia wants to know where these icons are.
They are in the file that you should have downloaded. So can you just put the link in again, please?
Yeah, I'll just put it in.
It's in there.
I'll put it in again, Patricia.
So you can have these icons and make them whatever size you like. But you've also in here got the shape fill to work with. So, oh yes. And shape outlines to work with. Who wouldn't want that with a purple outline on it? Much thicker. So think of it all as a starting point. It doesn't matter if it starts as a black icon. You can still colour code it in any kind of way that you want. And these can be used anywhere. So you can copy these from in here, paste them into Keynote, Pages, any way you like. I think you can even paste them into... I think they paste as SVGs into Affinity Designer. So definitely worth trying and having. There's one like our MacBites Labs one. The Learning Labs. Yeah. Liking that. Right, so let's get rid of that. So that's the icon pack. You also have in here extra files. The XML files that you see are all to do with formatting. So you don't actually have to directly open those, and you've got theme colours as well. And again, you don't have to directly open those. But what's happening is they're providing you with every little nuance that you might want to use, depending on how far you are taking these things. Then you've got the main files, and the main files are the PowerPoint files. So within the default, you have two folders for light and dark. And within there, you actually have the PowerPoint file that is the file with the content in it. So if we start off with that one, you can see there are 65 slides in here. And I'm going to show, I've picked some slides to work with, but I will show you what you've actually got in here. Not all that you look at are actual charts, because if you look in here and you go to Insert in PowerPoint, I never do charts, but charts are in here, aren't they? There we go, Insert a chart. So it's got a full range of charts that you can insert. But as is typical with these things, if I get myself a blank thing and I put in a chart and I say, well, let's have something like that, it's pretty boring. It doesn't look... now what are we doing? Don't start fiddling with Excel. Oh, it wants to open all the content in Excel. We don't want that. Something like this doesn't look like the other stuff does. So while it's accurate and it can get its data from to and from Excel, it doesn't look the part. So some of these are actual charts, some are not. So if we look at this one, is this a chart or not? Well, if we click on it, it's one item. How do we know if it's a chart or not? By looking at the top and seeing if it says shape format, which is lit up, or whether it says charts, and there's nothing there about designing a chart. So that's not a chart. If we click again, you can see the individual pieces. And the individual pieces, I can change them, but it's not a chart. It's just made up of shapes. Other ones are charts. So again, click on it, have a look, doesn't mention charts. So the early ones in here, all of these, are not actually charts. They might look like charts, but they're not charts. That gives you the flexibility to design it in any kind of way you like, without being married to the data. Now that might sound dangerous, but you've just seen me change the bars on that. If the data changes, just change the bars. And you retain control over what that looks like. And it's independent of any application. It's just a vector graphic, so you can paste it any way you like. Right, what else have we got down here? Lots and lots of different charts. This one I thought was interesting, because these aren't charts either. And this timeline I thought was interesting. So that's one of the ones I've decided I will show you how to actually make it work. As you go through it, you can see like this one. Would this be a chart or not? And I said to Mike, I don't think a chart in Excel would be, fading to nothing at the bottom. But, you never know. But no, that one's not a chart either. Again, as you go into it, you can scale these in any kind of way that you want. So it's not that it's not editable. It's not a picture in terms of it's a graphic that's pixels that you can't edit. It's just vector graphics. It's not a chart. As you move through these, you've got these kind of charts. Again, not a chart. But as you move through, some of them are charts. You'll be glad to know in the end, we get to some that are charts. That's not a chart. But if we go far enough, some of them are. That one is a chart. We can tell that because I've clicked it and all the bars have been selected. And up there, instead of shape format, we have chart design as well. If we go in there, we can actually change that. So we've got all of these pre-configured formats that can change everything about that chart like that. So that one is a chart. So tonight, I'm going to concentrate on ones that aren't charts. Is this a chart or is it not? That one is a chart. So they can be very similar, but if you don't have any data to work from and you don't know how you would need to format that data to get the chart to look like you want the chart to look, then don't use a chart. Just use something else. And that's what I'm going to show you. How many more have we got in here? Which ones did I choose? Things like this. There's no way that's coming from Excel. There's just no way. So it's things like that that is good to know the techniques for creating this kind of information. So that's the light one. Let's head back into Finder, where we're going to have a look at the dark one. The dark one's quite impressive. There we go. Exactly the same information, but just on a dark background. So let's get that full. There's something more serious about it being dark, isn't there? If you're trying to persuade with information, or you'll show somebody up with information usually, then there you go. But I'm going to use the white one, I think. So that's what you've got. They are the originals, but that's not where we're finishing. So let's close that. We don't want that. We'll come out of that, or it'll cause havoc. Right, that was only the default. There is also this version 1 update. So in here, again, you've got light and dark. And this is a completely different PowerPoint file. Let's bring that on. All of the slides in it are different. There's some similarities in terms of, you've got stacked charts here. Many more of these are actually charts. So if we were to click on these, that's a shape one. But that one was actually a chart. Chart design becomes active, so it was a chart. So that's what they give you. And I think these things are fantastic to look at and they're great for inspiration. But in terms of actually using them, you'd possibly spend that much time fiddling to try and get them looking like you want them to look. So I would use this as like an inspiration. But that's what you've got in there. The other thing to note that I thought was worthy of mention is these look great. As presenting data, they look great. The thing to think about with these is there's a gradient on them. Both of them, but very, very subtle. The other thing is here's some of those icons and they look fantastic. We zoom into that. They look fantastic, but if you look at them, you've got the middle one, which is quite thick, but the circular outside of it is much, much thinner. And I think that's what makes it look great. It's the little things that make these things look great. Whereas when you do it yourself, you look at it and you literally go bracket blind, Mike. In this case, it's pixel blind. You're like, that doesn't look good, but it looks too basic, but I don't know what's wrong with it. So it's subtle gradients, it's the use of graphics, it's changing the weight of things. So let's have a look at them. So I'm going to start with a gauge, which is on slide 8. So this one up here. No, it's not that one. That's the wrong file. I'm using the other page 8. So let's go back to the main one here, the light one, and slide 8. So let's bring that on. You all downloaded it now. Let me know you've downloaded it. I'll recreate that one is the plan. So how to recreate that one. Let's get rid of that and get my blank file that I'm going to be working with. So it's actually quite simple, but you need to analyse each one of these as you look at them. So how would we go about that? Well, what's it made up of? Is it one shape? Is it multiple shapes? How's that actually hanging together? I mean, this is just text, so that doesn't matter. We can get rid of that. But this here, as I select it, it's clearly a shape or a group of shapes. And as I carry on selecting it, I've got individual chunks in there. That's not bad, but we can do better. What's the problem with something like that, do we think? I can't see the chat anymore, It's vanished. I'm relying on you, Mike. The problem with this is you couldn't change it very easily because each one's an individual piece. How do you make it longer? Well, I can make it bigger. Yeah, but that's just bigger. That's not going to work at all. So we're going to recreate that, but we're going to recreate it in a better way. It needs to be better than that. Right, and this is the way to do it. You have in PowerPoint and Keynote a range of shapes. So from the shapes option in here, there's a whole range of shapes. The key to this working is making sure that you've selected the correct shape before you start. So for this one, we want the gauge to be 50% of a circle. So yes, we've got a donut down here, but then we'd have to start taking bits off the donut. But we do have a block arc, and a block arc will work really well for this. So click that. It needs to be a circle or half a circle, so you need to hold the shift key down. And you've got your shape. Now, it doesn't look right at all at this stage. The main problem with it is it's just too wide. But you have two yellow handles. You have one on the left and you have this yellow handle. The one on the right trims that down, so you could have it really skinny. But that's probably about right for what we want. The other handle over here, we'll play with that shortly, but that will determine how much of an arc you actually get. But for the moment, let's leave that alone. Right, so we need multiple copies of this. So I am going to have multiple copies like this. I'm doing this so this isn't where I'm leaving them, obviously, but I'm doing this so we can put in here different colours and we know which one's which. So, which do we want it? Shall we have it blue? A nice blue. So we'll start with a pale blue and then we will take up here just work through the blues. So each one is slightly deeper than the one before. And we will do that with all 5 of them. Now, as soon as you've got a fill on it, you can see that you've also got a red outline on it, a border that you don't want. So let's grab all of them and up here say no outline, and that way we will lose that red border. The next thing is to put each of these on top of the first one. And we can see that they're in the right place because we've got the dotted lines. Put the last one on top, making sure all of the lines match. I think they all match. Right, let's grab hold of them, put them in the middle. They are all still there. You can turn on your selection panel and you can see that you've got 5 and they are bang on top of one another. If you're not sure if they are or not and you're concerned, then go to Arrange and down to Align to Centre, and back down to the same thing again, Arrange, Align to Middle. And that will make sure that they are. Right. Now we start using this handle on the left and take that round. This is better than the built-in way that you've just seen that they used, because doing it this way, you can change it. So we now have 5 chunks. But each of these can be changed by making the one next to it bigger, which you couldn't do before because they were just individual chunks. So we could even those up a bit like that, but that'll do fine. Right. You can then, instead of redoing it, you can duplicate that and change the colours. So if you needed one that was a different colour, let's do a Command and A and drag those over there. Hold the Option key down and make a copy. And then literally working on it piece by piece, go up to the fill. Where's my fill option? Fill shape. And this time we'll start with a pink one and move on to the next one. You always know that you're in the right place because you get the yellow handle just to the left edge of that shape. So 3rd colour, 4th and 5th colour. So let's go for the 4th. That's lurid, isn't it? And the last one there. That is how you create them with different colours. Right, what is left to do? Now this was where it got tricky. There's always one, isn't there? Okay, we need to make the pointer. So if we just look at the reference file again, this pointer in here is a shape, and we click on it. So we could copy that and paste that so we can see it. You're moving the wrong bit. Right, that's the one we've got. So the centre thing here is slightly different. That's separate, but that's what we've got. So how do we make that? Do we have that as a shape? Well, short answer is no, we don't. So if you want it to look, and in my case, I was quite happy for it to look slightly different than that, but I needed like a circle and I was going to need something that looked like a pointer. So in essence, what I needed there was a triangle. So I did that. So I've got my individual chunks that I need to work with. I just need to make a pointer from that. So let's take that in, and probably easier to zoom in. Make that a bit bigger. And kind of put these together so it looks right. And that doesn't look bad. Is that 100% right? I think so. But I need to remove the border on it. I don't particularly want the border on it. So let's have no outline on it and have a look. It's not bad. One option is to make that a little bit bigger. So it looks... The trouble is like getting these to line up. But something like that. That's not bad at all. So I will take that. I will group it together. And I've got my little pointer now. So all I need to do is to put that in here. It might need to be a bit bigger. It depends if you want it touching up here or not. So if you wanted that like that, but with the bottom bit somewhere down the bottom, then you might need to make that a bit bigger. So we'll make that bigger like that. And that's not bad. But there's a problem. So I'm going to zoom out a bit so we've got context for the thing. And here's the problem. Every shape that you have in PowerPoint has a rotation option on it. So there's no issue with that. That's not going to be the problem at all. If we do that, it's rotating all right, but no, that's not good. It's rotating around its centre of rotation. And the centre of rotation, as the name implies, is always in the middle. So it's never going to rotate properly in that way. That's just the way it works. There are two dirty hacks. If it must look like that, then this is the first dirty hack to make it work. If the centre of rotation for a shape is always going to be in the centre of that shape, then what we need to do, in essence, is change the shape. So if we had a duplicate of that and we flipped it round and we put that there and we grouped it together, so grab the first one, grab the second one and Command Option and G to make it a group, and now we tried it. Oh, that's fabulous. Apart from the fact, obviously, it now doesn't look great. Good, but no t-shirt. But if we go into the shape, we can individually select part of it. So we've got two objects. We have in here this one. Hang on, what have you got there? We should have two of these. We group them. Right. It'll still work. What I would have done, if I'd remembered, I would have merged these, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Fingers crossed, eh? So I'm going to make sure that I've got the right bit, which is those two. What if I just take the colour away? So in the shape fill, if I say no fill, the shape is still there, but you can't see the bottom of it. But as far as PowerPoint's concerned, it's still there. So now it will rotate around the centre of the bigger shape, but you just don't see the other bit that's only there to balance it. You've only put that there, so the centre of rotation is in the middle. And now it rotates. So that's the dirty hack method. Benefit of that is it will give you the shape that you want. If you're prepared to go with a different shape, then there's another option. So if you don't want to do that, there's another option, which is in the shapes, there is a teardrop shape, which is this one in the basic shapes. If I click that, hold the Shift key down because I want this to be proportional, and we have a shape. This also has a yellow handle, which will enable us to change the shape. So if I do that with it, so it's much bigger, but it's pointing outwards now, and I change the size a bit, I've got the spike hanging off it, and now the rotation works irrespective of the spike. It's going to rotate around the centre of the original shape. So if I put that in place, I'm going to have to change the size of it because the middle bit is a bit big. But if I do that, and I get it in the right place, and now I rotate, it will rotate. I can't take that any further out. So if I want it to actually touch the dial, I'm going to have to put it, let me get it just in the right place. I have to put it there so when I turn it around, it's actually over the dial. So it needs to be, that's where it needs to be, bang on there. And then use the rotation to do that. And obviously you would probably have that in a bit of a better colour. So a black dial like that. So there's two ways to make it work, even though it doesn't want to work. Renee says, can't you shift the origin of the centre like Affinity Designer can? No, you can't. It's just something in PowerPoint you can't do. There is literally no option. It's not indicated to you in any way where it is, and you can't access it. So no, you can't. So those are the workarounds for it. If it had been as simple as that, that would have been grand, but it's not. No way to do it. So that's the way to do it. Right, those are those two. So let me have a look at that. Yep, that looks fine. So the next one, let's get a new one here. So again, look at what you've got, but don't just replicate it. Think about making it better. So let's get rid of that, because that's for this one. What have we got with this? Well, we know it's not a chart, it's a shape. It's a collection of shapes. So these are just shapes. That's fine. Right, what about the grid at the back of it? What's that? So let's click on one of these. Oh, who in the right minds thought that was a good idea? So the entire grid is made up of individual lines. So if I copy that and we paste it, it's just lines. Oh, that's going to be bad news when I'm trying to make 12 groups. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm using the first axis and the last one here, the line upwards, as a month. So I only actually need 11 chunks here, but really, no, let's make it better than that. So let's get it out of the way. You have the option on insert to insert a table. And we would like a table of 11 by 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. Yeah, we can only get 10. Well, one option is to let go at this point, and that will insert a table of 10 by 5. The other option is to choose the insert table at the bottom and actually put your own number in here. So let's go for the 11 that we want and the 5 that we want and insert. And it inserts the most garish table we have ever seen in table history. But we can work with it. We can work with it. So remember, this isn't a table that I'm going to put data in. This is just for layout. This is literally just for what the thing looks like. But it doesn't look grand right now. Well, one option is in here, you've got best matches for stuff. So do we want it to look like that? No, not really. What I did was I went in and thought, right, we don't want anything. So let's just get rid of it. To the point we can't even see that there's a table, but it's there. Right, at that point, you need to choose a colour for the pen. And I'm going to go for darker than I would normally, but only so we can see it. So we should be able to see it if I go for the light grey. And then I'm going to put some borders on it. All borders. And if I click away, we should see we've got borders. But if we look back at what we had, maybe they were doing it like that because there is no top border. It wouldn't look great if it had a top border. It would look a bit weird. So they may have used the lines because they don't want the top border. But we don't have to worry about that. No, because we know what we're doing. So in the table design, when I go into borders, I've said all and it's put ticks next to each one of them. But if I just don't want the top one, just take the tick off the top one. And now that looks exactly the same as the one that they carefully hand drew. But mine's far easier. Right, the rest is fairly straightforward. All I need to do is add some text. So we'll put January in there. Obviously, far too big. Don't want it that colour either. Want it far more muted than that and far smaller than that. But it is a case of just putting that in the right place. And then duplicating and duplicating. Put in Feb. We'll do Feb and March. And once they've got their text in, just move them and it will tell you when it lines up with those red lines. And then that one would need to move up there. There we go. Now, the biggest thing to think about here is the actual shape that's going to represent something on the timeline. So maybe the production schedule or the painting. You remember when we used to train Project Mike, the painting and decorating of the boardroom?
I remember it well.
It was the only demo we had. Everybody understood it. Right, so in the shapes, I need a long lozenge shape. Well, I'm right out of luck there. But I'm not, because I have a rounded rectangle. So if I show you what that looks like, that doesn't look much like what we're looking for, but it will do. So if we squidge that up enough, that would then sit on one of the lines and everything would be fine. Apart from the fact that if we look at the ends of this, they're nowhere near round enough. But despite the fact it's a rounded rectangle, the yellow handle's gone. There was a yellow handle and it's gone. That's because it refuses point blank to display it when it's not big enough. But it's still there. So I need to round that down while it's much bigger than I need it, because that's the only time I can see the yellow handle. As I take it up and down, it's still rounded. There we go. So you've just got to do that first. But to be honest, once you've got one of these things, you're probably going to want to format it in a way. So let's get rid of the outline. You're probably going to want to format it in a way with the shape fill, with a colour, and you're just then going to need to option and drag, and you've got another one. And while you can't see, you're going to want it to be the same there. So you can't see the height of it. I think it was around that-ish. And then again, just pop that into place. And then all you need to do with that is change the colour. So if we're sticking with the blue theme, we can have different colours of blue. Really straightforward if you know what you're doing with it. So far we've done the first one, which was the gauges, and we've done the timeline one. And 2 dirty hacks as well. Oh, we're doing well. We are doing well. Right, next one. Bit trickier. Only tricky in terms of, this one was slide 11. Let's look at slide 11. Just, you have to deconstruct it a little bit. What exactly have we got here? Well, you've got, looking at it, there's the data in the middle. That is on a white circle. Then there's a grey circle. Then there's this purple. And then there's a darker background. So what on earth? How have we done that? So you need to think about it and think, right, there's a dark one at the back. Then there's a lighter one. Then there's a white one. So that's 3 circles. And then I've got to ponder and pontificate how I'm going to get that purple one. So we're looking for something that looks like that. So simple enough to get the circles. As long as you hold the shift key down and you draw it out, you will get a circle. You can then just copy and copy with the option key. There's the 3 circles. We're still a bit missing, but at the moment, those 3 circles are fine. You do need to start formatting them. So none of them are going to need an outline. So get rid of the outline. We'll leave the back one at that size, even though it's probably a bit big. We can fix that. I'm going to make that one a bit smaller. And at this stage, it probably makes sense. Don't worry about the colours they're going to end up with. Let's just make sure that they've got some colours, and that wasn't the right one, it was that one, right, that you can see the difference with. So as you drag and drop them over the top of each other, you can eyeball whether they're too big or too small. That one doesn't look too bad. This one, I'm going to make smaller still. Put that one in there. That one probably needs more of a gap. So I'm just putting them on top of one another like that. That's not bad. Not bad. But I'm going to make it a bit smaller, and I will explain why as we put the extra bit in. Now at this point, I've got a problem. I've changed the size of it, and it's more difficult to line up, although that one actually has. Some of them won't. They just will not line up. In which case, grab the lot and use the ordering that you've got in here, the alignment options, where you just align to the middle and align to the centre, and then it will end up looking like that. So we're now formatting the very front circle, which was white. So in our shape fill, we're just going for white. In the text in there, that's at 75%, so we'll add 75%, but we need that to be formatted. So we can do that from in here. I think we had a nice purple, but we're going to go for a lurid pink, just so it stands out. There we go. So that one's fine. That's that one sorted. I do think the other one, the original, may have had some drop shadow on that. Right, this one, which is the next one back, is a very pale grey. So in our shape fill, we're looking for a very pale grey. Probably paler than that, but that'll do for now. In fact, no, we might have to make that paler for reasons that will become apparent. Let's make it that colour. And then this one is the very backmost one. Let me have a look. Which is the darkest? The background. This one is darker. So in our shape fill up here, we want that to be fractionally darker. So it ends up looking like that. I reckon we could get away with that one being the very palest. And that would mean the back one would not have to be as dark as that. So there we go. Now, we still have a problem. The huge problem we've got is getting something that we can use to indicate the 75%. So if we look back at what we've got, the thing with this is, we look over here. Can we do that? No, you're not doing that. This is rounded. The end of that is rounded, which is interesting. It's interesting because if you pick the wrong one, it's never going to work. So if you go up into your shapes and you think, oh yes, we've had one of those, we had that. We've looked at that. Yep, that's right. And this changes it that way, and that'll change it to 75%. It'll be grand. There's 75%. Yeah, but it's not rounded at the edges. And there's no way it's ever going to be rounded at the edges because it's not going to do that. You can fiddle a bit and you can set things to rounded caps, but it's not going to work. Trust me, it's not going to work. So the shape you actually need for this is an arc shape like that. And this has that to make it your 75%. This one goes that way. So, can't make it much thicker, but it's only a line. So, if we go back over here and we go to, let's get it a colour to start with. It was purple, but we're going to go for pink. But we don't want it to be the fill, because that is actually giving us a fill, and we don't want that. We need the outline. We need the outline to be the right colour, and the outline in here, change the weight. So change that weight to whatever you want that to be. You can in here choose up to 6, but you can go to more lines if you want it more. So if you find you need that to 8 or 10, then go in there and do that. I think we'll get away with 8. Right, so we needed this to be 75. I think we were going that way, weren't we? But now we've got it bigger and we can actually see it. Let's zoom in even more. Oh, this isn't round and we wanted it round. What happened? Well, you've got all kinds of options in here. And at the minute it's saying flat, cap type is flat. And you can change that to round and that solves the problem. And there's a joint type as well, but this here isn't a joint, it's just part of it. So if we take that back to the top, that should be 75%. And now all we need to do is get it in the right place. And getting it in the right place is getting it in the right place in 2 different ways. So you can see it's far too big, but where exactly are we putting it? And it was sitting between the outside edge, so it was actually covering it in a way. So it might need to be bigger than that. It was covering the back one, maybe like that. And then making sure that that is in the right place. But when I say in the right place, where is the right place? Because that one at the moment is sitting on the outside edge completely, and that's not where it was in the original. So if we bring that down in size a bit, we get to there, that was probably about right. But if we were to look at it, it still wouldn't look right. So look at what we've got and look at that. And the difference is, look at this 91, you can really see it. The blue here is covering the whole of the back circle, and ours isn't. So either we would need to make this one more than 8 points. So maybe, like I say, take that up to 10. But we're still not doing it, and now it's going off to the side, so no. So that's not going to work. The other option is to make this very back circle smaller. So if we make it smaller on one side and then just scoot it into place, getting there. Now it's proving problematic to try and get the whole thing lined up. So what I would do is do what we said, which is grab the whole lot and do our arrange, align, center, and arrange, align, middle. And hopefully that would put them in a far better place, and we're just about doing it at that point. I reckon it would probably need to be 10. Perfect. Now, You can then take this bit further as well, because that looks nice, but it's flat. It's very flat. But if you take the front one with the percentage in it, you can put in your format shape options in here, you have a fill and a line, but you also have shadow options. And these are presets, and one of the presets is perfect, which is this middle one. And it puts a shadow around the whole thing. So it's not a shadow on an offset to lift it off the page. It's a shadow all the way around it, which gives it a kind of 3D effect of the pie on the outside being raised and the numbers being behind it, or depending on how you look at it, it's an optical illusion that the middle bit is raised off the back. Depends on how you look at it. But there you go. So we've actually got that better than the ones that were in the original, because there's more flexibility with these. So the next one's one of my favourites. This is slide 15, so let's have a look at it. Because there's many different ways to do this. If you can think of a way of doing this, do shout it out. It was 15, which was this one here, the income funnel. So analyse it properly. Don't just say, well, it's 2 inverted triangles and a square. Because yes, it is. But you'd have problems trying to line them up. Then go in and have a look what we've actually got. So it looks like it's a group, but these shapes are separate from each other. It's 3 shapes. Right. Okay. The starting point is probably going to be, well, it's a triangle. And it is, and it isn't. But there's other options as well when you look in the shapes. So if you go into the shapes, you've got a rhombus in there. You could do that and then duplicate it and then think, oh, hang on a minute, it's upside down. Yeah, let's turn them round. And then you'd have to scale this one to try and make it match that one, but not quite, because that then doesn't, that looks like a Christmas tree. So it would have to be bigger so they kind of match. So this is one way to do it. But it's fiddly. And then you're looking at it thinking, is that right? I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. But if you want to get it right first time, every time, there's a way. Oh, it could be considered a dirty hack, this. Let's get Kim excited. Right. Do it right every time this way, which is you do have a triangle. So let's start with a triangle like that. Now, obviously, first thing with that triangle, it's the wrong way round. But we'll just flip it, rotate it round. Right, if you want to make this taller this way or broader this way, now is the time to do it. Don't fiddle later, right? But I don't think we need to. That'll do just about right. Right, next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to get another shape, which is a rectangle. And I'm going to look at it and think, well, my figures may be different every time, but I could do with that splitting at that point. And drag that down, and I could do with that splitting at that point. Right. One quick way of doing it is to cheat, which is take the fill out of that. But that won't work, will it? It'll work in terms of you don't have the overhang. But what if on the shape fill, you just put white in it? We've still got this stuff hanging out on the outside, but we wouldn't have if we took away the border. So no outline. It looks great. Will it work? Does anybody want to hazard a guess while I have a drink? Will that work? Will that work, Mike? If not, why not?
No idea.
Oh, well, come on. You've got a 50-50 chance of being right.
I say no. And you're going to show us a dirty hack.
He's good, isn't he? He's good. He knows what's coming. Well, the thing is, why won't it work? It does have one benefit. That if I move this up or if I move this down, I don't have to redraw it. Fabulous. But the reason it won't work, if we look at the other one, they're coloured differently. Okay, we can do that. Oh, no, we can't. Because this is one colour. This is one shape, isn't it? So if we were to go in and change the shape fill to a lovely lurid green, it's going to change everything. So that won't work. Okay. We could actually, with what we've done with these bits, if we choose this under these and we go into our shape and we say subtract, now it's looking good because the bigger shapes have gone. But that won't work either, because all it's done is those shapes are no longer there. Just to prove that point, if we go into here, we've got one shape. Whereas before we did it, so I'll undo, we had 3. But it still won't work. So let's redo that. One shape, select the shape, apply the fill. It applies to all of it. So no. So we are going to have to go back and do something that gives us different bits of a shape then. Well, what if we did this? And it doesn't matter at this stage what these look like. So these white bars that we've got, I'm going to give them a fill so you can see that we do have 3 separate shapes. But all we need to do is to make sure that this is positioned where we want it to be positioned. And then grab the lot. And then in the shapes, go to merge shapes and choose fragment. And now, as I'm selecting delete, 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 I've got bits in here. I've got that big bit at the top, but I've also got this bit. And somewhere down here, I would have another bit. And these can just be deleted. Beauty of that is, this top one can now have its own fill. And this one can have its own fill. And it's perfect in terms of the layout here. Because it started as a triangle, it's absolutely perfect. Apart from this little fella at the bottom. Because if we look at what we had before, it was a kind of funnel, but oh dear, that's a square. So I thought to myself, I wonder if I could just change that into a square. And then I thought, don't be ridiculous. I was thinking about editing the points, because there is an option in here that you can edit the points. I'd need to add an extra one and then make it square, and I thought, no, leave it alone. So, but there's also another option, which is in the shape format, you have the edit shape option, which is exactly the same as right click and edit shape. But in here, you can also change the shape. So I could just change it to a rectangle and then halve it so it's the right size. You can actually change that shape into something else. Doing it that way, you don't have to worry about the gap, and with everything lining up, it will be a perfect funnel every time. And you can also in here, whereas I've put solid fills into it, don't forget that you have the option to put a gradient in. So if you, that is an awful gradient. Oh, that's not good. Shall we do a proper gradient that looks reasonable? Don't particularly need that different colour in the middle. What I need there is a different gradient at the top or something. Flip these round. There we go. So making the gradient fairly subtle and then doing the same with that one. So adding a gradient, I particularly want that gradient. Let's go get a pink. So very, very pink at the top, very purpley pink. And that one further down. Because they're individual chunks, and only because they are individual chunks. There you go. So there's lots of that we can do with this, but you are learning dirty hacks and tricks to make any kind of shape that you want. I'm doing it in relation to creating data, but it wouldn't actually matter. Oh, Kim likes the fragment. It's interesting working with it because I work with Illustrator and Affinity Designer. There's always different dirty hacks that you need. In here, you can't change the centre of rotation. That's the end of it. In other ones, you can, and you probably would. So each one needs like something slightly different. But, you know, once you've got the dirty hack in here for changing the point of rotation, you can use it anywhere else. And the Boolean operations, the fragment, the subtract, the union, they're the Boolean ops, and they're virtually the same in any application. So it's just working out what will give you less work down the line. So I have more of those next week, and we'll also be looking at real proper charts, which might need me to touch Excel, mightn't it?
Might.
Yeah, I think it might. Well, you saw that. I only touched a chart and it brought up Excel. Excel's very insistent with its little self, isn't it? Anyway, let's get into here. No, that's not where we're going. No, I'm telling a lie. Somewhere I've got my presentation. There it is. Right, let's go into there then and have a look. Oh, coming up next week. Now, you know what we always say? Same time, same place. No. Not the same time, not the same day. It's Saturday next week. I have a conference, 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we will be here, but it will be Saturday. If that gives anybody a huge amount of grief, don't forget it's always available on demand. But we would like to spend next Saturday with you instead of next Friday. Available on demand is everything that we do, which you will find at youtube.com/Elaine Giles. There is our After Hours playlist, which is macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. There may well be another MacBites this week to go with the 5 from the other week. And that will be on MacBites FM. We love you guys. If you love us, can you give us a like? Because YouTube likes that, and we like that. A comment would be nice as well. YouTube love comments, which doesn't explain why you can't comment in the middle of a live show. But if you could come back later and say how much you enjoyed it, that would be great. That would be great. Right, there's my VIP people at elainegiles.com/VIP. And there's also the infamous MacBites mail at macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. Then there's Slack. We have a ball in Slack. It's where we carry on the conversation, and you would be most welcome to join us. It's macbites.co.uk/Slack, and that is the QR code for it. And of course, you can contact us all over the place, but particularly there. Although I must admit, I've not put Facebook on there. I'm on a bit of a Facebook, let's avoid Facebook at the moment. Is that just me, Mike, or is that everybody?
Just you.
No, I'm off Facebook at the minute. Right, I'm going to try and catch up with the chat now. So let's get rid of that and get that over there. I'm going to have to make that a bit smaller. Good grief. Whee! What's it doing now? Oh no, Kim says she can't remember an hour later what you do 24 hours. Sorry about that. No, I've got to do my conference. Patricia's talking about Scrivener backups. The video bits for an Affinity Publisher preset palettes. Yes, that was. Let me go and find that. MacBite shows Affinity. Oh, if I look for Affinity P list, do you think it didn't give me anything? No results. Try a different swine. Let's try that. Do you know I had this not long ago? Didn't I mention it in the other week's show? Let me get back. Let me get back to PowerPoint and come out of there and have a look. So PowerPoint. Now surprise me, PowerPoint. If I go in here and I put Affinity Photo, are you going to find me something? I thought it was everything.
Oh.
I thought it was everything. Right, isn't there going to be that one? Was it 99? 99 rings a bell. 99 rings a bell. Let me have a look. What were we covering?
After Hours 99.
After Hours 99. If I did, it's going to be towards the end. I'll find it for you. I will. Digital planners. I was sure we'd done that. Not that long ago. But trying to find anything in Notion, especially when it's decided to throw its toys out the pram, which Notion has done quite a bit lately. So I will find it. What was the last show I put the slides in for, Mike? Not that one. I think it was just before Christmas, and it referred back to another show. But let me find that. It wasn't one of the Affinity specials, Kim. No, it was definitely in relation to a question. And I put the slides in not long ago into another presentation, and we talked it through. Night, Renee. But it wasn't one of the special shows because that would have been... It was quite dry in terms of how to back up. Not many people want to know until it's too late. And then they're very interested. But you can't do anything at that point. The infamous spreadsheet, Mike, of all the content of the shows. That is so difficult to do. We're still pondering it. But one day. One day. Oh, thank you for all the thank yous, by the way. I'm working back up and finding it. 159. Let me have a look at 159.
159 was the Scrivener Restore, which is one problem.
That could still be it though, because I took them out of another presentation. So if I go into 159, don't disappear from me, 159. It could well have been in there. And if I was intelligent, shall we do the test? If I was intelligent, I would probably have put a link back to where they came from. Oh, there they are. There's the slides. Did I put a link back to where they came from? 107. Show 107. There you go. You find the link for that, Mike?
I will try and find the link.
Yes, we did a piece in 159 where I referred back to Affinity Asset Management, and the show was 107. 107. And I took the slides from 107 and I put them in 159. I did a very brief talk over the top of them. But the full details were in 107. That's where you need to go. Okay.
Affinity Asset Management.
Yes, Affinity Asset Management.
Right.
Yes. Okay, catching up with the chat here. Oh, Renee's not gone yet. Ain't over till it's over. Oh, no, Renee, it isn't over until it's over, until and unless football's mentioned, and then you're off. We know this. We know. Oh dear. There we go. Mike's got the link. Oh, he's letting you post links tonight as well and everything. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, we had to take the tree down this week. I was rather disappointed. I think we should leave it up until lockdown's over.
Couple of years then.
Well, at least 3. Well, with Boris in charge it is. Oh, you'd love Boris's latest approach if you're abroad. COVID, yeah, it's a thing. Carry on, nothing to see. And meanwhile, the figures off the scale. I think everybody we know's got it, haven't they? Pretty much everybody we know has got it. So we're just steering well clear. Oh, actually, it's 672 days today since we entered lockdown. So Kim's, you're 14 ahead of us, aren't you? That was the last time we actually left the house, which was the 6th of March, 2020. Going well. Oh, you just need to find everything, Patricia. One option you could do when you've moved to where you're going is you could use Carbon Copy Cloner to back it up. Let me see. Have I got my Carbon Copy Cloner set up? And if I have... Oh, good grief, where is it? 8 terabyte drives, PowerPoint, things, Vivaldi. Oh, tell me I'm doing my prop calls. There's my prop calls. Right, let me show you what I did with mine. So let me put you to the side and get you sharing my iMac again. Right. This is an app called Carbon Copy Cloner, and it does backups. It can back up a whole drive, or it can back up individual files. So if I fold up what I've got so it's not completely overwhelming. Right, I have 8 terabyte drives. I have a whole collection of them. So in my 8 terabyte drives, I can back up 1 to the backup of 1, 2 to the backup of 2, and so forth. They're full drives. My Documents drive backs up. My Macintosh HD backs up. But I've also got individual backups that back up to fake drives. So if we look at my Affinity Designer prop calls, they're backing up to a sparse bundle, which is in essence a fake hard drive. It is a file that pretends to be a drive. My prop calls are in this folder, so it shows you where it is in there. And this is where they're going, and it runs every day at 7:30. So once you've got this machine set up, you just need to create in Carbon Copy Cloner a range of backups that will back up as and when. Now, if you're using things, if my prop calls weren't backed up for a day, it would not be a calamity. If I'm doing something big with them, I do a manual backup anyway. But this means I don't have to worry about it. And I am never going to be sat at my computer at 7:30 in the morning, unless I've not gone to bed. So that's a good time for it to do it. I also have it backing up my PowerPoint files, which are critical. We all know this from when Keynote ate my slides. So PowerPoint, the folder that all my PowerPoint files are in, is backing up to a fake hard drive whenever I click it. So it's saying no schedule at the moment. But I could click this and run it on a schedule and say, back up every hour. Start now, that's fine. Wake it if it needs to and do that and then save it. And then every hour, it will back up my PowerPoint folder, all the files within it, into this fake hard drive. I also do that with Things, which is fairly tiny, and I have that running as and when. So again, I can do the same with that. Let's do it hourly, and then I'm not going to lose anything there either. So if I move that up to in 5 minutes, save that one will be automatic. And the last one that I do it with is Vivaldi. Even though now most of Vivaldi is in the cloud anyway, I still make that backup and I just run it as and when. So I'm going to set these all up on a schedule of working hourly. Let's take that up to 50 and then it'll do that as well. So Carbon Copy Clone is about, I think it's about £45. A lot of people think, I don't need that because I don't need to image drives. But because you can image to faux drives, it's a really good way of backing up all different kinds of content into the same folder, but on fake hard drives. And then you can just mount them and get off what you need. And it's easier to transfer the backups out of there as well. So when it's all set up, that is what I would recommend. Right, let me get back to the chat now. Oh, you wish you'd done that. You got bits and pieces on 3 different drives. A hacking situation and some manual drag and drop. Oh, yes, it's a mess. But, think of it like this. It probably wasn't optimal beforehand. So when it's finished now, because of what's happened, you're going to be in absolutely the best position to know what you should have done. So if you do it now, you'll never be in that mess again. There you go. Let me have a look. Renee says they're back in total lockdown. To be honest, Renee, I wish we were, because people are just, and we're talking fully vaccinated people who've had boosters and all kinds of stuff, and they're just dropping with it. I can't understand it myself, but Boris's tactic is move along, there's nothing to see. But at the same time as that's happening, the NHS is suffering so badly, they've brought the army in. So I said to Mike when we were having dinner, I said, I hope Russia haven't heard that the army have been drafted in to save the NHS, because now would be a very good time to invade. The army are busy. So that's where we're at. Oh dear. You'll do it until you lose something immensely important and you never do it again. Oh, come on. I'm sure you're backing up. I'm sure you are. Any suggestions for duplicates? OneDrive is having a heyday. It's auto updating and downloading tribbles. Do you mean you've got multiple copies of files and you don't know, you want to try and get rid of some of them? There are apps for that, but I must admit, I don't really use them that much. Renee says my files are in iCloud. Well, you say that, Renee. I decided to do that. I got 2 terabytes of iCloud storage and I thought, right, I'm going to put them all in there and it'll be fine. Yeah, it didn't work. So now I've got 2 terabytes of iCloud storage that does nothing but back up my devices. I do have enough devices to warrant 2 terabytes, but no, not. I read this article at the time I was struggling, and this was from like an expert who'd been a cloud expert, and he was saying the way that they've implemented iCloud is ridiculous. If you delete it from one place, not even delete it, you've no control over whether it downloads it or purges it or whatever. And we've had fun with Google Drive again, haven't we, Mike? So yeah, Dropbox, the way to go. pCloud, the way to go. staying with those. Now, Dropbox, I've got 3 terabyte, and pCloud, I've got 4. So I think 7 terabytes to keep me occupied for a little bit. There are apps that you can get, Patricia. What is it? Clone something. Let me try and find the one that I've heard of. I've not used either of them. Right, Mac OS duplicate. Was Gemini one? Gemini was one. I've heard of that. Let me put the link in. Does anybody use it? I think it's on setup. Oh, come on. Let's grab that. Does that work? That works. There you go. Gemini is one I've heard of. Renee has 2 terabytes of iCloud space and it works flawlessly for you. Right. Mike, take a screenshot of that. I want that screenshotted for when it all goes wrong. Maybe it'll work great for you. Maybe, I don't know. I know. I mean, look at what's his name? Alistair. Alistair in New Zealand. It's never worked. So I think it's 2.5 years. They've been trying to troubleshoot it. You wonder how it works well on one machine and not at all on another. But I guess with Dropbox, it's got to work. Because if it doesn't, they're bankrupt. With Apple, it doesn't make a jot of difference. I think I'd rather have it somewhere where it really matters to the company. So that I'm moving. Patricia has had to stop using OneDrive. Horrid. You've got 6 of the most file calls and 4 devices. Well, you use OneDrive, don't you? You're a OneDrive boy.
Yeah.
I'm not overly keen on it, I must admit. And Renee's got Eagle on a NAS. Oh, Eagle's just fabulous. Eagle's got to win 2021 Best Addition to Workflow. There's got to be an award for that. I'm telling you, got to be. My Eagle stuff is on Dropbox because I've got enough space, so I'm just leaving it there. I'm quite happy with it. But I did say to Mike that the next time we buy a computer, it's going to have a 2 terabyte hard drive. Because 1 terabyte is fine. It would be more than enough if your cloud files were coming down on demand. But if they're not, then yes, I've got 300-400 gig free, but normally I have 700 gig free. So I then have to start managing it, and I don't really want to waste time managing it, do I? Is that question for you?
Do I stop the auto backup? What auto backup?
Well, Mike usually doesn't back up full stop, does he?
I backed up the other day. I backed up more than Renee has.
That's very true, to be honest. pCloud is really a good service. I was sceptical at the beginning, and I went for a lifetime deal with 2 terabytes, and I didn't really use it. And then I started using it for things, and I thought, actually, this is really good. It works in a way that Google Drive used to work, but doesn't anymore. And OneDrive works. And it's more like Dropbox. So I wanted storage space where I can share a folder, but that folder live for me where I want it to live, and the person I've shared it with, it lives wherever they want it to live. And that's not how OneDrive works. That's not how Google Drive works now. And iCloud's just a farce when it comes to sharing. So the fact that pCloud and Dropbox have got it right, long may that live. Long may that reign. So when the offer came up at Christmas to get another 2 terabytes to take us up to 4 terabytes, we did it. So we don't really pay for that. It was a one-off charge. It's not a monthly fee. And the sharing is fantastic. The upload requests is fantastic. Both of those services have features that none of the others do, which is why we stick to those 2. But there you go.
I think Patricia's talking about backing up desktop documents and pictures.
Ah, right, I'm with you.
Which I thought was Windows only. I could be wrong.
It could well be.
But I think it's
well, Dropbox has the same feature. You can back up.
When a Google Auto Backup OneDrive, it's talking about those 3 folders.
And Dropbox is supposed to do the same thing. But you have to remember, it's not the same as iCloud. iCloud, anything you put in desktop and documents that you've got synchronizes after a fashion. Basically on demand, isn't it? If a machine's asleep, it doesn't bother. And there can be sync conflicts, but not that often. But when Dropbox and OneDrive says, do you want to synchronize your desktop and documents? It's not actually synchronizing it. It's more of an incremental backup thing. So one, it can eat data, and two, I'm never quite sure which is the right version of the file, which is what you're saying. The easiest way to backup, which is the way that I do it, is I have an SSD. So I have this 1 terabyte SSD in a plastic box, you know, a caddy, basically, plugged in. And it's not mounted, but Carbon Copy Cloner overnight, before I go to bed, the last thing that I do before I go to bed is get Carbon Copy Cloner open and start the backup process. And then in the morning, that drive has already been ejected and it's already backed up. Now, OneDrive would probably... Now, when I say OneDrive, I mean a single physical drive, not OneDrive the service. A single physical drive would do. But for extra redundancy, it's nice to have 3 in a rota. And then if you do have an issue with something, say you've updated an app in the App Store and realised it's not working, you can go to your backup and get that back for 24 hours. But if you don't notice for 2 days, then you've got a problem. So I actually have more than 1 drive in a rota. But one would do it in terms of it's an exact copy of your machine as at the point that the machine died. So if the machine dies or you lose something, you've got this single place to go. That isn't the only way that I back up, but that gives me a copy of the full drive, whereas the other options don't. So, do we have any more questions? Don't forget, next week is Saturday. We will send the mail and we will say it's Saturday in the mail. But if you rock up on Friday, you're going to be lonely. Although, do you know, maybe not. Maybe people just start talking in the chat and then realise 20 minutes later that it's actually the following day.
JT Arts and Media says, I'm going through all your old After Hours videos from the start.
Oh, wow. That is going to take you so long. If you've got any questions, you find anything, let us know. That's fantastic. That is a MacBites marathon, isn't it? That's a definite
marathon.
That is we have a thing called the MacBites Marathon, which started with our podcast. Minster was the first one to do that, and then Jane followed up, and Jane did the MacBites Marathon. Then we had Marooned, and Tracy has done the Marooned Marathon, which is 501 shows. And then she did the MacBites Marathon. Now I'm going to say that she's going to take that as a challenge that Tracy will go through every single one.
Has Tracy done all the MacBites Marathon? Because she'd done up to...
I know, she did so well, and then we put 4 shows out.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, we're so annoying, aren't we? That's fantastic. Do let us know how you get on with that. And as I say, any questions, you're welcome. Must be really weird going back. And you know, because some of them are like 3 years ago. Because sometimes I open up the presentation and I look at the week at MacBites headquarters and I think, what was that about? And then I think, well, it's a rubber chicken, so that one's probably the dog. But, you know, I look at the slides and I'm like, whoa, it's really good to look back, actually. A lot of people at the moment are doing their annual reviews and they're saying I'm collating my photos. And I'm like, I'd just use the week at MacBites headquarters and have a giggle. You've been doing it for 4 weeks and you're on to 37. Wow. And you spent money. Good grief. What have you bought? I hope it was worthwhile and I hope it worked well. What were we doing in episode 37? That'd be middling of 2019, wouldn't it? I hope you didn't buy everything that was in the first show. That was when we unboxed my iPad, my MacBook Air, your Microsoft Surface. That was an expensive one. That is fantastic, but do let us know how you get on. Would love to know that. Right, okay then, if there are no more questions, we are going to head off. We still have mince pies, which is just as well because I am still smarting I never got a Yule log. Mike assures me he's going to go shopping for the Yule log next year in June, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because if I don't get a Yule log next year, I'm going to be an even less happy bunny than I am this year. Oh, apps and August 2019. Oh, happy days. Happy days before we thought of a global pandemic. It's compulsory, Paul, isn't it, to spend money after. You must have seen something grand. But we also have some good free stuff as well. But I know people have spent money. Graham keeps me out of his wallet now. I'm not allowed near Graham's wallet. Not after some of the MacBites stuff. So, thank you for being with us. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. And we will be back with you next week, but it will be Saturday. It's good, but think of it like this. If it was Thursday and you forgot, you'd have missed it. But if it's Saturday and you forget, you'll be reminded when you turn up and you're on your own. And then you'll join us again the next day, hopefully. So, it's fine. We do tend to try and make it Saturday if we can't do Friday. But I think the last time we had to do a Saturday show was pre-lockdown.
Yeah.
Because, not going out and all of that. Oh, lots of Notion. There's lots of Notion. And there's lots more Notion. And I'm thinking of doing something rather special with Notion. It's quite advanced, but I'm contemplating that in the next 3 or 4 weeks or so. Renee's got a credit card with the MacBites logo on it. Excellent. And I know that Kim calls her card. Is it Elaine or MacBites?
Elaine.
Could may well be me. Oh, well, never mind. As long as what you buy you enjoy, that's all that matters. Oh, good. We're getting people saying that Saturday's fine. Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to spending Saturday with you then. But for the moment, I'm going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.